Chapter 2766. Do you think that this king's natal fire essence orb is so easily damaged? Seeing that Night Sorrow had used the 3 heaven cloud arrows to damage his natal fire essence orb, the king-tier earth dragon laughed in a deep voice. It immediately spat out 3 flames on the damaged natal fire essence orb. After being burned by the flames, the natal fire essence orb immediately recovered to its original state. At this moment, Night Sorrow's godly soul was being roasted in the flames and felt even more uncomfortable. At this moment, Night Sorrow, who felt that this was not the way to go, suddenly had an idea. He started to make use of his opponent's godly soul attack to strengthen his own godly soul. After the immortal divine art was activated, although his opponent's godly soul attack was still there, at the same time, the strength of his godly soul started to be strengthened. The strength of his godly soul started to catch up with the power of merit, slowly increasing towards the level of a mid-level divine lord. You know how powerful I am? Go to hell. The dominator divine weapon is this king's. The king-tier earth dragon obviously did not expect that Night Sorrow would choose to strengthen one of his deity C's under such circumstances. Then, he would use the other deity C to fight. It thought that the natal fire essence orb had completely suppressed Night Sorrow and spat out 3 more flames. This time, the 3 flames were red, orange, and gold respectively. The degree of heat was extremely shocking. After absorbing the 3 flames, the natal fire essence orb's attacks immediately became more ferocious. As it spun in the air, it continuously shot out beams of fire at Yishan. If not for the fact that Night Sorrow's body was strong enough, he would have been incinerated by the flames. Tianyun Bao, you want to absorb these flames? Just as Night Sorrow was trying his best to resist the flames, he suddenly felt that Tianyun Bao seemed to be activated on its own. It seemed to want to devour the flames to strengthen itself. However, its will was a little vague. Night Sorrow didn't quite understand it. He could only feel Tianyun Bao's trembling. He couldn't completely decipher its thoughts and directly placed it in the void. Placed in the air, Tianyun Bao absorbed all the flames shot out by the natal fire essence bead. After absorbing to a certain extent, Tianyun Bao suddenly let out a bao sound. After the bao vibrated for a moment, a small flame suddenly appeared on the bao. Although these flames looked very gentle, they increased Tianyun Bao's power by a lot. So you didn't know that you can absorb blood and fire. Seeing the changes in Tianyun Bao, Night Sorrow suddenly understood that absorbing blood was not the only way for Tianyun Bao to become stronger. After pondering for a moment, Night Sorrow took out a strengthened heaven cloud arrow. He plucked Tianyun Bao from the void and shot it directly at the Emperor rank Earth Dragon. Tianyun Bao's heaven cloud arrow, which had been activated by the pure flames, immediately burned with scorching flames. Using fire techniques against this King Earth Dragon? Facing Tianyun Bao's heaven cloud arrow, the Emperor rank Earth Dragon snorted contemptuously. It swept its huge tail over, wanting to shatter the heaven cloud arrow. However, what it didn't expect was that this heaven cloud arrow not only contained a trace of dominator rank power, but the flames on it were also very shocking. It directly pierced through its tail and spun behind it before shooting towards its head. King's Inferno. To the Emperor rank Earth Dragon, the heaven cloud arrow looked like an embroidery needle. However, the terrifying power it contained made it not dare to underestimate it. It immediately spat out its most powerful origin flames. What a terrifying flame! When the King's Inferno was spat out, Night Sorrow could feel the sky change color. Even with the strength of his body, he wouldn't be able to last long if he was burned by this flame. He, who was still using the flames from his natal fire origin orb to strengthen his divine soul, didn't dare to use the King's Inferno to strengthen his divine soul. At the same time, after this flame was spat out, it directly burned and destroyed the strengthened heaven cloud arrow. This was the first time the heaven cloud arrow had been so easily destroyed by the divine king. Night Sorrow was very shocked. However, at this time, Tianyun Bao once again flew out of Night Sorrow's hands with a boom. It absorbed all the King's Inferno in the void. This king's origin flames. Spit out this king. Seeing its origin flames being absorbed by Tianyun Bao, the Emperor Rank Earth Dragon immediately roared. The origin flames in its body were formed gradually after accumulating for tens of thousands of reincarnations. It was very precious to it. Now that it was all absorbed by Tianyun Bao, how could it not feel uncomfortable? So this is the origin flames, no wonder it's so powerful. Tianyun Bao absorbed all the king's inferno of the Earth Dragon and immediately flew back to Night Sorrow's hands. Night Sorrow, who was lamenting, immediately felt the flame released by his natal fire origin orb drop by a lot. His strengthened divine soul was no longer under any pressure when facing this kind of flame attack. At this time, Night Sorrow didn't immediately use Tianyun Bao to attack the Emperor Rank Earth Dragon. Instead, he used the flames from his natal fire origin orb and the immortal mantra to strengthen his body, gradually increasing his body's strength. However, there was still a certain distance to the level of a middle divine lord. Bastard! You actually used this king's method to strengthen yourself in battle. The Emperor Rank Earth Dragon gnashed its teeth in hatred when it saw Night Sorrow's method. But after thinking for a moment, it didn't explode. Instead, it shouted, "Challenger! Return this king's origin flames, and this king will consider you a pass. I will also tell you how to open the next checkpoint. Your suggestion is very good, but things are not under my control. Let's continue the battle. Take my arrow." The Emperor Rank Earth Dragon's words moved Night Sorrow, but he wasn't a 3-year-old child. How could he return the opponent's trump card and continue to withstand the opponent's attacks? After replying, he took out 5 heavenly cloud arrows. He shot the 5 elements arrow burning with flames towards the huge Emperor Rank Earth Dragon. The 5 elements arrow with the Emperor Rank Earth Dragon's origin flames was extremely terrifying. After shooting it, it immediately caused the Emperor Rank Earth Dragon's face to change color. It directly fled back into the lava swamp. Looks like without the origin flames, you have no strength to fight at all. You don't even want your natal fire origin orb anymore. The 5 elements arrow chased into the lava swamp. Night Sorrow began to use the clear sky pagoda to collect the natal fire origin orb in front of him. The flames that this natal fire origin orb spewed out could be used to cultivate the strength of the body, and could also be used to strengthen the divine soul. The effect was extremely great. To the current him, it was absolutely a good thing. At the beginning, although Night Sorrow tried his best to absorb it, he couldn't completely absorb it into the clear sky pagoda. Because the Emperor Rank Earth Dragons will still remain in the natal fire origin orb. Chapter 2767. After about 10 breaths of time, the 5 elements arrow flew out of the lava swamp. The Earth Dragon's roar completely disappeared, and the Earth Dragon's will in the natal fire origin pearl also disappeared. Obviously, the Earth Dragon had been killed by the 5 elements arrow. Night Sorrow used this time to keep the natal fire origin pearl in the clear sky pagoda and made it recognize him as its master. Although the intensity of the flames on the life fire origin bead that was stored in the clear sky pagoda was not as strong as the Earth Dragon's origin flames, it was completely destructive to a god lord. It could even threaten a god king. It was very useful. Night Sorrow used his divine soul to sense it and nodded in satisfaction. At this time, he muttered, "Even a Sir God level Earth Dragon can be revived. It should be the same for a King tier Earth Dragon. When you revive, let's fight again." While waiting for the King tier Earth Dragon to revive, Night Sorrow used the natal fire origin pearl to strengthen the first divine sea and his body. Just as the first divine sea's divine soul reached the level of a middle level Sir God. In the lava swamp, there was a loud dragon roar. This dragon roar was filled with endless anger. It immediately shook the lava in the swamp and sent it flying. "You caused me to lose my life. Challenger, you will die here. Your Dominator divine weapon will become this king's." After the King tier Earth Dragon was revived, its body was 100 times smaller. It looked about the same size as a Sir God level Earth Dragon. However, its divine king aura had a significant change. It had risen from a low-level divine king to a middle-level divine king. Its strength had a significant increase. If Tianyunbao can kill you once, he can kill you a second time. Let me give you a piece of advice. If you don't want to be completely killed, choose to submit and let me pass. Night Sorrow looked at the revived King-tier Earth Dragon. Although its aura had increased, it was not as dangerous as before. You want to pass? Unless you kill this king. Go to hell. The King-class Earth Dragon clearly had a violent temper. Without wasting any time, it leaped into the air and attacked Night Sorrow. Before its rebirth, it had always used flames to attack. Who would have thought that its first attack would be a close-range attack? Good timing. Night Sorrow was not used to the Earth Dragon's constant fire attacks. Night Sorrow wielded the heavenly Samsara halberd and unleashed the forbidden spear that he had just comprehended. The heavenly Samsara halberd, which was already a half-step sovereign weapon, unleashed a new forbidden spear attack. The spear left Night Sorrow's body and pierced through the void toward the Earth Dragon King. The King-class Earth Dragon might have the cultivation of a middle-level Divine King, but it was still pierced through and sent flying. Roar! The King-class Earth Dragon King had never imagined that Night Sorrow would be able to pierce through it and send it flying without using a sovereign weapon. It was so angry that it immediately roared. As the King-class Earth Dragon roared, all the Divine Lord-level Earth Dragons in the lava swamp flew out of the swamp and turned into fire energy that entered its body. At the same time, a fire crystal core also rose from the bottom of the lava swamp. After absorbing all the energy in this fire crystal core, the King-class Earth Dragon's cultivation advanced to that of a high-level Divine King. Its strength had increased qualitatively. It actually advanced from a low-level Divine King to a middle-level Divine King so quickly, and then to a high-level Divine King. Why does it feel so illusory? While Night Sorrow sighed, he also knew that the rules of this small world were set by the ancestor Phoenix Sovereign. He had to face this Divine King Earth Dragon that had advanced to a high-level Divine King. A few days ago, he had been able to rely on Tianyunbao to defeat high-level Divine King opponents because the two Dark Divine Kings had come to the Divine World from the Dark Abyss and lost most of their strength. On the surface, they appeared to be high-level Divine Kings, but in reality, they only had the strength of a middle-level Divine King. But now, the King-class Earth Dragon had truly advanced to a high-level Divine King. A high-level Divine King against a low-level Divine Lord. Even with the help of a sovereign weapon, death is certain. After advancing to a high-level Divine King, the King-class Earth Dragon's aura had become much more terrifying. He coldly threatened Night Sorrow and blasted out a strike. This time, Night Sorrow used the Samsara halberd to unleash the same forbidden spear strike, but he was unable to block it at all. At the crucial moment, Tianyunbao released a defensive energy that prevented Night Sorrow from being seriously injured. The gap between a low-level Divine Lord and a true high-level Divine King was too great. Even though Night Sorrow was astonishingly talented and had a deep foundation, it was still very difficult for him to fight. Heavenly Cloud 5 Elemental Arrow. After being sent flying, Night Sorrow stabilized himself in the void and immediately shot the Heavenly Cloud 5 Elemental Arrow at the King-class Earth Dragon. However, the 5 Elements arrow that had once killed an Earth Dragon at the level of a lower Divine King was directly neutralized after it was shot out this time. Even my strongest attack can't harm it. It seems like there's no point in continuing this battle. The King-class Earth Dragon's strength had advanced by leaps and bounds. Night Sorrow made a quick assessment and determined that he was currently no match for it. He used the profound heaven-roaming dragon art and began to flee. However, the King-class Earth Dragon, which had advanced to a high-level Divine King, was also terrifyingly fast. Even after using the profound heaven-roaming dragon art, Night Sorrow was still unable to shake off the distance between them. What should I do? As the King-class Earth Dragon continued to close in on him, Night Sorrow kept thinking of a solution. If he kept fleeing in the void, he would definitely be caught. After pondering for a while, Night Sorrow dived directly into the lava on the ground. You can't even escape in the void. If you enter the lava controlled by this king, you'll die even faster. Seeing Night Sorrow fleeing into the lava, the King-class Earth Dragon immediately let out a raging roar. However, its speed did not decrease at all and it continued to chase after him. It seems like I have to take a risk. Night Sorrow, who was fleeing, immediately used his divine soul to control Tianyun Bao and made Tianyun Bao fly out of the lava swamp. As for himself, he dived into the lava swamp. When the king-class earth dragon saw Night Sorrow and Tianyun Bao fleeing in different directions, it hesitated for a while and immediately chased after the Dominator divine weapon Tianyun Bao. In its opinion, Night Sorrow was no more than an ant to it and was no longer a threat. However, the Dominator divine weapon Tianyun Bao was something that could change its fate. It was obvious that it would make such a choice. When the king-class earth dragon chased after Tianyun Bao, Night Sorrow immediately entered the clear sky pagoda and used all kinds of resources to cultivate. Currently, he was at a complete disadvantage when facing the king-class earth dragon. The main reason was that his cultivation level was too low. Currently, his power of merit, first godly soul, and the toughness of his body had basically reached the level of a middle-level divine lord. He was prepared to quickly raise his cultivation level to that level. As long as he broke through to the level of a middle-level divine lord, with the heavenly Samsara halberd and Tianyun Bao as his support, he could once again attempt to challenge the king-class earth dragon. Brother Night Sorrow, you have to do your best. Before Night Sorrow began to cultivate, Cao Linger said with tears in her eyes. She was very worried about Night Sorrow's safety and her own fate. Night Sorrow was suppressed to the point that he even had to throw out Tianyun Bao. This made her very afraid. Chapter 2768. Linger believes that Big Brother Night Sorrow can bring Linger through this crisis. Cao Linger said timidly and found a spot to cultivate in the vast heaven pagoda. It was just that she was born extremely sensitive and could not calm her heart at all. After Cao Linger left, Night Sorrow calmed his mind in an instant and entered a cultivation state. The current him forgot about Jing Yun and Wu Ling Fei, forgot about his family, even forgot about Tianyun Bao and the king-rank earth dragon. Wholeheartedly immersing himself into cultivation. With the help of the immortal divine art, driven by the power of virtue, spending 400 years, Night Sorrow finally raised his cultivation to middle-level divine lord level. After easily transcending the tribulation, he thoroughly became a divine lord in name and in reality. Inside the vast heaven pagoda, 400 years passed. In the outside world, 4 years should have passed. I wonder how Tianyun Bao is doing. Standing in the small world anew, Night Sorrow felt the powerful strength brought about by middle-level divine lord realm. Immediately, a strong confidence in defeating the king-rank earth dragon rose. But 4 years had already passed. Tianyun Bao had already left Night Sorrow's perception range long ago. Searching for a while in the scorching small world, he still did not find any clues. The king-rank earth dragon was also completely not in the lava swamp. Tianyun Bao himself did not have an artifact spirit. Night Sorrow was somewhat worried. Linger, come out and help Big Brother Night Sorrow to sense. See if you can find Tianyun Bao's aura. Seriously, without any way, he summoned Cao Linger out from the vast heaven pagoda. Cao Linger appeared in the scorching small world and immediately felt very uncomfortable. That kind of heat, she could not quite withstand it. At this time, Night Sorrow released his divine domain, enveloping her inside. Thank you, Big Brother Night Sorrow. Only then did Cao Linger feel much more comfortable use her dual horns to sense. Sensing for a while, she furrowed her brows and said, directly east. Can't sense exactly how far away. Good. Let's head east. Cao Linger sensed Tianyun Bao's aura. Night Sorrow immediately relaxed and rushed towards the east. After traveling at full speed towards the east for 7 days and 7 nights, Night Sorrow suddenly heard the sound of fierce fighting ahead. He immediately drew a concealment array around himself and began to observe. It was a battle between a king-tier earth dragon and a divine king realm fire dragon sparrow. Tianyun Bao, on the other hand, floated in the void, radiating brilliance. It was obvious that the two of them were fighting over Tianyun Bao. After fighting for a while, the fire dragon sparrow and the earth dragon king stopped. After recovering for a while, the Earth Dragon said, "You and I have been fighting for 4 years, and we are still evenly matched. It's time to think of a solution today. Find a way." What could he do? Whoever obtains the sovereign artifact will be able to pass the trials set by the Lord, leave this small world, and obtain the fortuitous opportunity left by the Lord. The fire dragon sparrow laughed disdainfully. "Are you going to let me have the sovereign artifact? Naturally, it's impossible for me to give it to you. But we can use it together to leave this small world." The Earth Dragon King replied in a deep voice. The two of them were emitting intense flames. If the high god Cow Linga was outside, she wouldn't be able to withstand the flames. Pass the trial? What trial is it? Night Sorrow, who was hiding in the concealment array, was immediately curious after hearing the fire dragon sparrow's words. After all, he had come to this small world to pass the trial. Now, it seemed that the trial was the same for him and the other king-tier lifeforms. Whoever passed the trial first would obtain the fortuitous opportunity left behind by the ancestor phoenix. I wonder how Jing Yun and Aunt Fei are doing now. If the trial they received was the same as mine, then it would be too difficult for them to pass. Even if they could protect themselves, who knows how many years it would take for them to pass the trial. Thinking about Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei, Night Sorrow began to worry. Although the two of them had good bloodline talents, they didn't have the strength to defeat the Divine King. If the trial was the same, it would be very difficult for them. Haha. Use it together? Then who will use Tianyun Bao at the crucial moment? The fire dragon sparrow didn't believe the Earth Dragon King at all. 4 years ago, when the heavenly cloud Bao reached this place, it completely lost control and floated quietly in the void. The fire dragon sparrow, who happened to be passing by, immediately started fighting with the Earth Dragon King. The two fought for 4 years, using all their means, but still unable to determine a victor. If I call back Tianyun Bao now, I might be pursued by the two of them. I should be able to defeat the Earth Dragon King or the Fire Dragon Sparrow with my current strength. But if the two of them work together, it will be very difficult to deal with. Night Sorrow put away his worries, hid his aura, and patiently observed the battle between the Earth Dragon King and the Fire Dragon Sparrow. Right now, he could use his godly soul to summon Tianyun Bao, but that would make him a target for everyone. Therefore, he didn't choose to do anything. Instead, he patiently observed and waited for the right opportunity. At this time, the Earth Dragon King continued to talk to the Fire Dragon Sparrow. "The two of us are the weakest kings in this small world. If we continue to hesitate and stay here, we will encounter other experts. You should know what the consequences will be. This is the intersection of our territories. The other 5 kings have no reason to be here." The Fire Dragon Sparrow was still unmoved by the Earth Dragon King's words. This made the Earth Dragon King very unhappy. After a moment of silence, he continued, "That's when they don't know about the Dominator Divine Artifact. Now, I will spread the news about the Dominator Divine Artifact." "You are crazy." The Fire Dragon Sparrow roared angrily. "The situation is a bit complicated. We can only wait and see what happens." After hearing the conversation between the Earth Dragon King and the Fire Dragon Sparrow, Night Sorrow knew that things weren't going well. If his guess was correct, another king-level entity would be arriving soon. It was impossible for the Earth Dragon to summon all 5 king-level entities at once. His biggest advantage was that he had received Tianyun Bao's acknowledgement and could summon him at any time. However, he definitely couldn't summon him at this time. Otherwise, he would be chased endlessly in this small world. Is it possible to form an alliance with the kings here? At this time, Night Sorrow began to consider this possibility. The kings in this small world were undoubtedly very eager to leave. However, they had been trapped here for many years and were definitely very suspicious. It would be difficult to convince them. With this thought in mind, Night Sorrow felt that this matter could be considered, but he needed the right opportunity. Therefore, he quietly waited for the other kings to arrive. The Fire Bat King is about to arrive. Dragon Sparrow King, what do you think? Chapter 2769. Attitude? You are inviting a wolf into your house. The Fire Bat King is ranked fourth among the 7 kings, but his nature is the most savage. Aren't you courting death by summoning him? The Dragon Sparrow King looked at the Earth Dragon King with anger. If we don't have the Dominator artifact, the two of us might not be his opponent. But if we join forces now, killing him is not difficult at all. The Earth Dragon King said coldly. He continued, however, if you don't agree to cooperate, think about what will happen to you. Between his brows, there was always a trace of confidence. How can this king be sure that you didn't join forces with him? The Dragon Sparrow King looked at the Earth Dragon King with suspicion. Their territories were adjacent and they understood each other's nature very well. I swear, as long as you cooperate with me and let me temporarily control Tianyun Bao, I will bring you out of this small world. The Earth Dragon King said solemnly. No matter what you say, don't you still want to take the Dominator artifact for yourself? I don't agree. The Dragon Sparrow King's face was full of anger. He was not as tactful as the Earth Dragon King and did not have any friendship with the other kings in the small world. At this moment, he was extremely passive. Hee. It doesn't matter if you don't agree. When the Fire Bat King arrives, you will be the first to be killed. The Earth Dragon King continued, think about it, is the Dominator artifact more important than your life? Don't threaten me. Even if I die in battle, I won't let a loach like you get the Dominator artifact. At worst, I will cooperate with the Fire Bat King to kill you and let you draw water with a sieve. The Dragon Sparrow King clearly did not want to lower his head to the Earth Dragon King. Then let's wait and see. The Earth Dragon King's face revealed a trace of a cold smile. It was very obvious that he had his own plans. See? I think you should just go and die. The Dragon Sparrow King did not have any advantage in interpersonal relationships. At this moment, he ignited his bloodline power and attacked the Earth Dragon King again. I knew you would fight with your life on the line. This king is not afraid of you. The Earth Dragon King also ignited his bloodline power and fought against the Dragon Sparrow King. Hee. I don't believe that with your strength, you can scheme against the Fire Bat King. In the end, you won't be able to obtain the sovereign artifact. After Dragon Sparrow King exploded, his entire body burned with fire. He looked like a phoenix. You don't have to worry about how to scheme. The Earth Dragon King had a well-thought-out appearance. Seeing the situation in front of him, even Night Sorrow could not figure out where the Earth Dragon King's confidence came from. If he had some powerful trump card, wouldn't it be better to just kill Dragon Sparrow King directly? If he didn't have a backup plan to summon the Fire Bat King, he would feel very uncomfortable. I understand. The Earth Dragon King's scheme was very likely not only about Tianyun Bao. With his strength, he could not set up such a grand scheme at all. Behind him, there should be an extremely powerful king. After carefully pondering for a while, Night Sorrow recalled the matter of the Earth Dragon King continuously increasing its strength in his territory. Suddenly, he figured out some things. The 7 kings in this small world should all have very terrifying methods in their own territories. At this moment, Tianyun Bao was staying here. It should be because the person behind him wanted to use the sovereign artifact to lure the king out. As for why he would continuously fight with Dragon Sparrow King for 4 years, it should be because he wanted to complete the show. While Night Sorrow was pondering, the Earth Dragon King and Dragon Sparrow King were still fighting to a draw. However, Dragon Sparrow King's expression had completely changed. He realized that no matter how much he increased his strength, the Earth Dragon King would always be able to fight to a draw with him. This proved that the Earth Dragon King's true strength should be stronger than his. Since he is stronger than this king, why did he waste 4 years? Dragon Sparrow King, who discovered this problem, immediately panicked. He understood that things were not simple. He completely realized that whether it was him or his territory, they were all chess pieces in the hands of the Earth Dragon King. Who is behind you? Dragon Sparrow King, who reacted, immediately panicked. You've thought it through? Then I can't let you stay. Go in peace. Originally, I wanted to let you wait for the Fire Bat King. Suddenly, the Earth Dragon King erupted with the strongest strength he had when fighting with Night Sorrow. If Night Sorrow could use his divine sense to investigate, he would be able to confirm that the Earth Dragon King had been hiding his strength in the battle just now. Conspiracy. There is a conspiracy here. The sovereign artifact is a conspiracy. The Earth Dragon King suddenly erupted. Dragon Sparrow King, who realized that something was wrong, immediately began to escape. At the same time, he shouted loudly. Hee hee. After transmitting the message to the Fire Bat King, this king sealed off the surroundings. What's the use of shouting? Go to hell. The Earth Dragon King laughed. Your mission is already over. After speaking, he made his move and prepared to completely end Dragon Sparrow King. He had already sensed the aura of the Fire Bat King. He was prepared to kill Dragon Sparrow King and pretend to be heavily injured to let the Fire Bat King enter the trap. However, at this time, the Earth Dragon King, who was slightly absent-minded, discovered that Dragon Sparrow King had actually completely disappeared in front of him. What's going on? How did he do it? The Earth Dragon King, who used his divine sense to investigate, could not find any trace of Dragon Sparrow King. It was as if he had completely disappeared. The Fire Bat King was about to arrive, but Dragon Sparrow King had disappeared in front of him. He was very worried that this would cause unnecessary trouble. Because the Fire Bat King's backer, the Fire Phoenix King, was the king that his backer, the Golden Wand King, wanted to deal with. The Fire Phoenix King was ranked second among the 7 kings. However, in the lava pool in her territory, she was immortal and could revive indefinitely. She had once injured the Golden Wand King in her territory and killed her spouse. The Golden Wand King, who was the strongest, had always wanted to get rid of her because of hatred. However, there was no way to lure the Fire Phoenix King out. Now that a sovereign artifact had appeared, she immediately had the thought of revenge. After all, no king could resist the temptation of a sovereign artifact. As long as they had a sovereign artifact in their hands, any one of them would have the opportunity to break through the barrier set by the ancestor Phoenix, leave the small world in front of them, and obtain the opportunity left behind by the other party. The Fire Phoenix King obviously could not resist this temptation. Earth Dragon King, didn't you say that you were evenly matched with Dragon Sparrow King? Where's Dragon Sparrow King? Also, why did you choose to call this king over? If you don't have a reasonable explanation, you should know the consequences. After the Fire Bat King arrived, he discovered that only the Earth Dragon King was present. Beside him was the sovereign artifact Tianyun Bao. He immediately opened his mouth to question. He did not know that the Earth Dragon King was the Golden One King's subordinate. However, in front of the sovereign artifact, he was very cautious. Fire Bat King, you should have sensed my battle with Dragon Sparrow King just now. Chapter 2770. After speaking, the Earth Dragon King looked at the Fire Bat King. He said, "You may not believe me, but the ruler artifact is here. You can feel it yourself and see if it's real. What you said is very reasonable. Moreover, the bow in front of us is a complete ruler artifact." The Fire Bat King released his divine soul power and sensed for a moment. After confirming that the heavenly cloud bow was a dominator artifact, he no longer bothered himself with the question of why the Earth Dragon King had called him over. Instead, he opened his mouth and asked, where did this dominator artifact come from? The Earth Dragon King felt that there was nothing to hide in this matter. He immediately replied, 4 years ago, the person appointed by the ancestor Phoenix entered my territory with this ruler artifact. However, he was defeated by me and abandoned the ruler artifact to escape. I chased after the ruler artifact all the way here. After arriving here, I engaged in a fierce battle with the Dragon Sparrow King for 4 years. I couldn't do anything to him, so I transmitted my voice to you. That makes sense. However, after the Dragon Sparrow King used a secret technique to leave, why didn't you take the ruler artifact for yourself? As long as you had the ruler artifact, I wouldn't have been your opponent. The Fire Bat King flapped his wings in the void and continued to ask doubtfully. You arrived before I even had a chance to retrieve the sovereign artifact. If I took the ruler artifact in this situation, I would definitely be killed by you. The Earth Dragon King replied with an unhappy expression. It's good that you know. The Fire Bat King smiled and said, Don't worry. After obtaining the ruler artifact, I will give it to the Fire Phoenix King. She will bring us out of the small world. After speaking, the Fire Bat King reached out to take the Tianyun bow. Seeing the Fire Bat King reach out to take the Tianyun bow, Night Sorrow and the Dragon Sparrow King in the Clear Sky Pagoda shook their heads at the same time. Just now, Night Sorrow had put the Dragon Sparrow King, who had nowhere to run, into the Clear Sky Pagoda. After hiding, the Dragon Sparrow King explained the distribution of forces in the small world. He also explained the conflict between the Fire Phoenix King and the Golden One King. After connecting all the dots, Night Sorrow and the Dragon Sparrow King quickly understood the situation. He also guessed that if nothing unexpected happened, the third-ranked Golden Python King and the first-ranked Golden One King would be hiding in the void near Tianyun Bao. Furthermore, the Golden Python King would attack the Fire Bat King. Defeat her, lure the Fire Phoenix King here, and attack her. What Yi Shang wasn't sure about was whether the people hiding in the void had discovered his existence. Just now, he had come very secretly. It was reasonable to say that Golden Python King and King Jinwan, who could not use the power of the Divine Soul, should not have discovered his existence. Do you think the two of you are worthy of obtaining a sovereign artifact? While Night Sorrow was pondering the cause and effect of this matter, the Golden Python King emerged from the void just as the Fire Bat Dynasty's sovereign artifact Tianyun Bao stretched out his hand. It spat out very poisonous flames at the Fire Bat King. Haha. Do you think this king doesn't know of your schemes? Facing the Golden Python King's attack, the Fire Bat King smiled and immediately flapped his wings at the Golden Python King. The highly toxic flames were all dispersed to the surroundings. Haha. When this matter was first planned, it was a conspiracy. Now that it has developed to this point, because of your arrival, it has become an open conspiracy. I don't believe that the Fire Phoenix King will watch you die without doing anything. The Golden Python King provoked. You are not a match for this king. Let King Jinwan come out. The Fire Bat King obviously did not take the Golden Python King seriously. Hearing this, the Golden Python King laughed and said, Overestimating yourself is the right word to describe you. At the same time, he continued to attack. In fact, he also knew that the Fire Bat King and the Fire Phoenix King must know that King Jinwan was nearby. We all know that King Jinwan is here. If you want to fight, we will accompany you. The Fire Bat King, on the other hand, said indifferently and then started fighting with the Golden Python King. The reason why he chose to fight the Golden Python King despite knowing that King Jinwan was nearby was because he wanted to personally verify whether King Jinwan had already controlled the Dominator artifact. If King Jinwan controlled the Dominator artifact, the Fire Phoenix King would not come. Moreover, she would help the Fire Bat King resurrect. If King Jinwan did not control the Dominator artifact, the Fire Phoenix King would definitely come. The Dominator artifact was absolutely irresistible to them. It was enough to make them give up the unlimited resurrection lava pool in their territory. After that, the Fire Bat King and the Golden Python King each used their own methods and fought for 3 days and 3 nights. There was no sign of victory or defeat. King Jinwan, who was waiting in the void, sent a voice transmission to the Golden Python King, deliberately waterproof. Let him confirm that the Dominator artifact is not occupied by this king. Yes. Your Majesty. The Golden Python King originally wanted to let the Fire Bat King fall into a life and death crisis to lure the Fire Phoenix King out. However, after fighting for a few days, he discovered that his strength was actually on par with the Fire Bat King. Neither could do anything to the other. Therefore, he listened to King Jinwan's instructions and pretended to be defeated and fled, giving the Fire Bat King a chance to investigate Tianyun Bao. The Fire Bat King used the power of his soul to briefly investigate Tianyun Bao and confirmed that there was absolutely no aura of King Jinwan on it. He immediately sent a voice transmission to the Fire Phoenix King. The Dominator artifact is not controlled by King Jinwan. However, there is the aura of the Challenger on it. The Dominator artifact was brought by the Challenger. It is normal for it to have his aura. After confirming that there was no aura of King Jinwan on Tianyun Bao, the Fire Phoenix King quickly descended on the scene. She was, as her name suggested, a huge fire phoenix. However, after descending, she immediately transformed into a human female cultivator. She quickly flew towards Tianyun Bao. You know that this king is here, yet you still dare to approach. It seems that you are willing to gamble your life for the Dominator artifact. Seeing that the Fire Phoenix King was closing in on Tianyun Bao's position, King Jinwan immediately walked out of the void. He blocked in front of the Fire Phoenix King and said coldly, "This king originally had the opportunity to take the Dominator artifact for himself, but he didn't do so in order to lure you out. Take revenge for killing his wife back then. She deserves to die. You deserve to die too." The Fire Phoenix King, who had transformed into her human form, was full of heroic spirit. She only said a few words and directly attacked King Jinwan. "Damn it, it's you." King Jinwan let out a roar and rushed forward to meet them. While the Fire Phoenix King and King Jinwan were fighting, the Golden Python King, who had pretended to be defeated by the Fire Bat King, appeared again and fought with the Fire Bat King. Just as the Earth Dragon King was about to help the Golden Python King, the Fire Wyrm King suddenly appeared and fought with it. The two sides temporarily formed a situation of evenly matched strength. At this time, Night Sorrow sent a voice transmission to the Dragon Sparrow King. "Are you sure that you can pass Lord Supreme's test like that?" "Of course I'm sure. Lord Supreme personally told us about this matter," the Dragon Sparrow King said with certainty. "You have to be clear that your life is tied to my body. If something happens to me, you will definitely die too." The two sides of the battle were evenly matched. Night Sorrow felt that the time to take back Tianyun Bao had arrived. He confirmed the key to passing the test with the Dragon Sparrow King. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the Dragon Sparrow King said, "Since it's like this, why would I lie?" Chapter 2771. Don't. Please don't. When Dragon Sparrow King heard Night Sorrow's words, he was shocked. "I think we should wait until both sides are injured before making a move. Both of them are people that the two of us can contend against. What you said makes sense, but things have gone awry. We have to make a move now." Night Sorrow, who had already activated the Sea Serpent's Eye, saw that there was a barrier around Tianyun Bao. After the Golden One King appeared and fought with the Fire Phoenix King, a clone of the Golden One King appeared. One of the Golden One King's doppelgangers appeared within the concealment boundary and began to collect the heavenly cloud bow without anyone noticing. This was something that Night Sorrow could not tolerate. Why must we make a move? Dragon Sparrow King still did not understand Night Sorrow's decision. Seeing his hesitation, Night Sorrow shook his head and explained, "Right now, a clone of the Golden One King is trying to steal Tianyun Bao. If we don't make a move, Tianyun Bao will be taken away." "What? The Golden One King has a clone? You can see it because you have special eyes?" Dragon Sparrow King, who was looking at Tianyun Bao, was immediately shocked. He did not expect the Golden One King to have a clone. There was no doubt that if this stalemate continued, the Golden One King would become invincible once he obtained the Dominator artifact. He was already the strongest in this small world. "Yes. That's why we have to make a move now. I can summon Tianyun Bao, but the Golden One King's clone will definitely attack me. When the time comes, we'll deal with him together," Night Sorrow explained. "The others are basically in a stalemate. As long as we don't fight with our lives on the line, we'll be in a 2-on-1 situation. No matter how strong the Golden One King is, his clone will definitely not be able to defeat the two of us." "Not necessarily. The Golden Wand King's strength has already surpassed the Divine King's. The two of us might not be his match. However, if I have the Dominator artifact, his clone will definitely not be my match. Dragon Sparrow King said as he observed the battle. Hearing this, Night Sorrow glanced at him and said, I believe you. Are you really going to lend me your sovereign artifact? The Dragon Sparrow King, who had been observing the battle, immediately turned to look at Night Sorrow. I said, I believe you. You control the Tianyun Bao and can suppress the Golden One King's clone. However, I believe that I am stronger than you, so there is no need for you to be in charge of Tianyun Bao. Night Sorrow said confidently. Then, he shouted, do it. You, a middle divine lord, are stronger than this king? When Night Sorrow summoned Tianyun Bao from the concealment array, the Dragon Sparrow monarch muttered in disbelief. Night Sorrow didn't respond to the man's words. He continued to summon Tianyun Bao. Not good. Tianyun Bao has been restricted. Night Sorrow immediately realized that something was wrong. He used his divine sense to control Tianyun Bao, but he couldn't break free from the Golden Wand King's restriction. After a moment of silence, Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to the Dragon Sparrow King. Tianyun Bao can't break the array set up by the Golden Wand King. We need to attack immediately and break the array's defense. All right. It's a fight to the death no matter what. If we delay and allow the Golden Wand King to obtain the Dominator artifact, we will all die. The Dragon Sparrow King knew how bloodthirsty the Golden Wand King was. After Night Sorrow spoke, he didn't hesitate. He immediately took out a 5-colored magic treasure from his spatial artifact and threw it at Tianyun Bao. What's going on? Is someone after the Dominator artifact? The moment the Dragon Sparrow King made his move, he was discovered by some of the people fighting. When they saw that it was the Dragon Sparrow King, the Golden Wand King, who was fighting the Fire Phoenix King, immediately roared, How dare you try to steal the Dominator artifact while we are fighting? Dragon Sparrow King, how dare you? At the same time, he blasted the Fire Phoenix King aside and pounced at the Dragon Sparrow King. The Golden Wand King is using his clone to steal the Dominator artifact. The Dragon Sparrow King was so scared that he immediately retreated when he saw the Golden Wand King attacking him. Although he wasn't very strong, his speed was ranked 3rd among the 7 kings. He wasn't immediately caught by the Golden Wand King. What? The Golden Wand King has a clone and is trying to steal the Dominator artifact? After hearing the Dragon Sparrow King's words, the people who hadn't noticed the Golden Wand King's scheme immediately turned to look at Tianyun Bao. At this time, Night Sorrow activated the Treastrimsa battle's secret technique. After becoming a mid-level Divine Lord, he could use the battle's secret technique to increase his strength by 20 times. After his strength increased, Night Sorrow wielded the half-step Dominator artifact, the Heavenly Samsara Halberd, and directly attacked the array set up by the Golden Wand King's clone. Under these circumstances, he didn't have the time to think about how to break the array. He could only use brute force. As for the consequences, there was no time to consider. Boom! While everyone was still hesitating, the Dragon Sparrow King and Yishang's attacks landed on the array formation one after another. However, although their attacks caused serious damage to the array, they didn't immediately break it. The Fire Phoenix King and the others immediately understood that the Dragon Sparrow King was not lying when they saw their attacks being obstructed by the formation. As the Golden Wand King chased after the Dragon Sparrow King, the Fire Phoenix King, who had no one to stop her, immediately spat out a mouthful of dense phoenix flames in the direction of Tianyun Bao. After being burned by the phoenix flames, the array, which had already been damaged by Night Sorrow, immediately began to leak out. This time, everyone was completely certain that the Tianyun Bao they'd seen before was just an illusion. The Golden Wand King was secretly using his clone to secretly attack the Dominator artifact. Bastards! You're courting death. The Golden Wand King, who had been chasing after the Dragon Sparrow King, immediately turned back in anger when he saw Night Sorrow and the Fire Phoenix King attacking the array. He wanted to stop the two of them. As he turned back, he discovered that Night Sorrow was only a mid-level divine lord. The Golden Wand King angrily rebuked, "How dare a mere divine lord ant ruin this king's plans? Even if the ancestor phoenix is reborn, he won't be able to save you today." As he rebuked, he, who had transformed into his human form, viciously sent a palm strike at Night Sorrow. In his opinion, a mid-level divine lord wouldn't be able to withstand his attack. At the same time, the Golden Wand King looked at the Fire Phoenix King and said, "So what if you discovered me? What can you do to me? Aren't you blindly overconfident?" Night Sorrow sneered when he saw the Golden Wand King speak to the Fire Phoenix King as he attacked. With the help of the Sea Serpent Eye, he'd analyzed the path of the Golden Wand King's attack and used the Divine Origin Dragon-locking array to confine it. Finally, he'd used the Samsara Halberd to unleash a new forbidden spear strike. When the half-step Dominator artifact struck the Golden Wand King's palm, he staggered from the impact. What's going on? The Golden Wand King hadn't expected Night Sorrow to be able to withstand his attack and cause such a huge backlash. He immediately felt embarrassed. The invincible Golden Wand King of the small world is only a so-so. Chapter 2772. Night Sorrow discovered that the new forbidden spear was terrifyingly powerful, far more powerful than he'd expected. It was actually able to send the Golden Wand King, a divine king, flying. He was extremely confident that this spear would be able to break through the defense of the array. "You're courting death, Ant." Seeing Night Sorrow attack the array again, the enraged Golden Wand King attacked him again. "You want to kill someone? This king won't let you." On the other side, seeing the Golden Wand King's ferocity, the Fire Phoenix King slashed out with her Phoenix Feather Sword. The Phoenix Feather Sword was brightly colored. When it slashed out, it looked like a rainbow, but it didn't look peaceful at all. As it radiated light, it exploded with an extremely violent energy. "She's even taken out her natal artifact?" Seeing the Fire Phoenix King take out her Phoenix Feather Sword, the Golden Wand King, who was attacking Night Sorrow, immediately retracted his attack. He quickly dodged the attack. At the same time, he took out a long spear made of golden wand feathers from his spatial artifact and faced the attack. The Fire Phoenix King took out her half-step sovereign-level natal artifact. The Golden Wand King didn't dare underestimate her. At this time, Night Sorrow used his forbidden spear to break through the array set up by the Golden Wand King's clone. Tianyun Bao. Come back. After breaking through the array, Night Sorrow used the power of his spirit to control Tianyun Bao while shooting the forbidden spear at the Golden Wand King's clone. The Golden Wand King's clone, which had been using a secret technique to restrain Tianyun Bao, clearly knew the power of Night Sorrow's attack. It immediately diverted its attention to resist the forbidden spear. At this time, Night Sorrow seized the opportunity to pour a large amount of blood into Tianyun Bao. Tianyun Bao, who had been activated by the blood, instantly released a radiance that caused the heavens and earth to change color. With a hum, it broke free from the Golden Wand King's restraints and flew back to Night Sorrow's hand. "I'll help you kill the Golden Wand King." After taking back Tianyun Bao, Night Sorrow immediately sent a sound transmission to Fire Phoenix King and took out the Sky Cloud Arrow from his spatial artifact. He drew his bow and shot an arrow at the Golden Wand King's clone. "Good. I'll kill his true body." When Fire Phoenix King saw Night Sorrow put away Tianyun Bao, her eyes flashed with regret. At the same time, she also felt lucky. For her, Tianyun Bao returning to Night Sorrow's hands was something she could accept. If it fell into the hands of the Golden Wand King, it would definitely be a nightmare. When Night Sorrow fired a Sky Cloud Arrow at the Golden Wand King's avatar, the Dragon Sparrow King, who had fled far away, returned to the vicinity and pondered whether or not he should make a move. It was clear that he had offended the Golden Wand King today. If the Golden Wand King won this battle, he would not have a good ending. What are you waiting for? If you have any trump cards, throw them at the Golden Wand King's avatar. Yi Shang had 2 deity C's. One deity C's soul power was used for battle, while the other deity C's soul power was used for scouting. With Tianyun Bao in his hands, he was obviously a target for everyone. He had to guard against everyone present. Good. Today, let's kill the Golden One King together. Dragon Sparrow King received Night Sorrow's sound transmission and no longer hesitated. He took out a green lamp from his spatial artifact and ran into the void. He gradually floated towards the Golden One King's avatar. When he was 100 feet away, the green lamp emitted an extremely peaceful light. Enveloped by this light, the Golden One King's avatar immediately felt his eyelids grow heavy. It was obvious that he could not open his eyes. Quick! Attack him quickly! The avatar of the Golden One King, who had just used a divine artifact to block Yishang's sky cloud arrow, was too weak to care about anything else. Enveloped by the faint light of the green lamp, the Dragon Sparrow King immediately shouted towards Yishang. Sky Cloud 5 Elemental Arrow. Actually, even without Dragon Sparrow King's reminder, Night Sorrow could sense that the Golden One King's avatar was in a very bad state. Without any hesitation, he took out 5 Sky Cloud arrows and shot out the 5 Elemental Arrow. This was the first time Night Sorrow had used the 5 Elemental Arrow after becoming a mid-level Divine Lord. He was looking forward to seeing the power of this move. Boom! 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 5 consecutive arrows landed on the body of King Jinlawan's avatar, causing it to be severely injured. Damn it! I didn't expect you two ants to be able to work together like this. Seeing that his avatar was heavily injured, Golden One King's original body angrily shouted. He used a secret technique to merge his avatar with his original body. Although his avatar was already heavily injured, Golden One King's strength still increased by half a level after merging with his original body. Originally, he was evenly matched with the Fire Phoenix King and even had the upper hand. When his strength increased again, he became even more terrifying. However, he now needed to rely on his own strength to fight Night Sorrow, Dragon Sparrow King, and Fire Phoenix King. He was clearly not their match. We are not their match. Quickly think of a way to retreat to this king's territory. Golden One King was also someone who had fought a decisive battle. He was no match for them now, so he immediately sent a message to the Golden Python King and Earth Dragon King, asking them to think of a way to escape. Yes. Luan King. Understood. Lord Luan King. The Golden Python King and Earth Dragon King answered one after another. They started to burn their bloodline, wanting to find a chance to escape in a desperate situation. Everyone, use all your strength to stop the Golden Python King and Earth Dragon King. The Golden One King chose to escape. Everyone, including the Fire Phoenix King, could not stop him. After the Golden One King escaped, the Fire Phoenix King immediately sent a message to Night Sorrow and Dragon Sparrow King, asking them to help stop the Golden Python King and Earth Dragon King. Okay. But please leave the Earth Dragon King to me. Night Sorrow replied to the Fire Phoenix King and shot a Heaven Cloud arrow at the Earth Dragon King. He, who was originally suppressed by his realm, had now advanced to a Middle Celestial Lord. When he shot the Heaven Cloud arrow, its power was completely incomparable to when he was a Lower Celestial Lord. In just 4 years, its power has increased by so much. The Earth Dragon King, who was originally fighting with the Fire Wyrm King, immediately panicked when he saw the power of the Heaven Cloud arrow shot by Night Sorrow become so great. He could sense that this arrow was already qualitatively different from the one from back then. Just as the Earth Dragon King was using a secret technique to increase his strength and was preparing to completely shake off the Fire Wyrm King, the Heaven Cloud arrow shot towards him. The Heaven Cloud arrow that was shot out had already arrived in front of it. The Earth Dragon King completely had no way of dodging. It could only take out a broken shield from its spatial artifact and use it to block in front of itself. Boom! When the Heavenly Cloud arrow hit the shield, it immediately shattered the entire shield. My King Grade Divine Artifact. After the shield was shattered by the Heaven Cloud arrow, the Earth Dragon King roared gloomily. You'd better worry about your own safety. Night Sorrow mocked the Earth Dragon King when he shot the Heaven Cloud arrow in his hand and took the initiative. Chapter 2773. Yes. Lord Fire Phoenix King. Good. Let's kill him together. The Fire Serpent King and the Fire Bat King both replied before using their strongest movement techniques to chase after the fleeing Golden Python King. The Golden Python King was faster than the Fire Drake King and the Fire Bat King. But before he could get far, he found that the Fire Phoenix King had already blocked his way. Seeing that he had nowhere to run, the Golden Python King immediately knelt down and said, "The Golden Python King is willing to fight for the Fire Phoenix King in the future. Please spare the Golden Python King's life." Spare you? Golden Python King, stop dreaming. You will die today without a doubt. Seeing the Golden Python King beg for mercy, his old opponent, the Fire Bat King, immediately smiled contemptuously. He mocked and continued, "You should know that the winner takes all. Go in peace. Go in peace. Fire Bat King, can you represent the Fire Phoenix King?" The Golden Python King asked coldly. Of course the Fire Bat King can represent me. The Fire Phoenix King who blocked the Golden Python King said indifferently and continued, "If you want to blame someone, blame the Golden One King who left you behind and ran away. Kill. Yes." The Fire Bat King who had transformed into a human heard the Fire Phoenix King's words and looked at the Golden Python King with a cruel gaze. After hearing the Fire Phoenix King's judgment and seeing the Fire Bat King's gaze, the Golden Python King lowered his head in despair. He knew that no matter how he resisted, he was no match for the three kings in front of him. He couldn't even pose a threat to them. Forget it. The winner takes all. You can do it. After fighting for a while and confirming that he had no ability to resist, the Golden Python King gave up. This is the price you have to pay for helping the evildoer. You know how many evil deeds you have done by the Golden One King's side all these years. The Fire Bat King was an old opponent of the Golden Python King and killed him with a single sentence. After killing the Golden Python King, the Fire Phoenix King, the Fire Bat King, and the Fire Drake King all locked their gazes on Night Sorrow's battle. At this time, Night Sorrow, who was holding the Tianyun bow, was in the middle of a white-hot battle with the Earth Dragon King. In the past, because Night Sorrow's cultivation had been suppressed, he had no chance of defeating his opponent at all. But now that he had broken through to the Middle Divine Lord realm, the situation was completely different. In just 4 short years, you've reached the Middle Divine King level. That's nothing. How did his strength increase so much? The Earth Dragon King, who was fighting Night Sorrow, had already seen the Golden Python King being killed. It knew that it would be hard for it to escape today. Even if he was going to die, he was going to drag someone down with him. Therefore, after falling into a disadvantageous position, he began to burn his bloodline power. However, after fighting for a while, the Earth Dragon King discovered that even if it heated up its bloodline, it was still not Night Sorrow's opponent. They began to use all kinds of divine talismans and magic treasures, all of which were self-detonating attacks. Even though Night Sorrow had a Dominator artifact and a half-step Dominator artifact in his hands, facing the frantically counterattacking Earth Dragon King, he still felt quite a bit of pressure. Luckily, the Earth Dragon King's wealth was limited. Not long after, it was used up. However, after it was used up, the Earth Dragon King said coldly without hesitation, "Even if this king dies, I won't let you have an easy time." After yelling, he directly charged towards Night Sorrow, preparing to self-detonate and perish together with him. Seeing that the Earth Dragon King actually chose to self-detonate, the gazes of the Fire Phoenix King and the others all became serious. However, none of them helped. In fact, if Night Sorrow died in battle, the Dominator artifact Tianyun Bao would become an ownerless item. In the battle, you already understood my methods. Why would you still self-detonate to attack me? Facing the self-detonating Earth Dragon King, Night Sorrow continuously used the Divine Origin Dragon Locking Array and the Virtuous Dragon Locking Array. While binding it temporarily, he himself quickly escaped. At the same time, Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to the Dragon Sparrow King. In the past, just in case, quickly leave with me. We'll pass the test and leave this small world. He promised to take the Dragon Sparrow King away and didn't want to go back on his word. In addition, Night Sorrow didn't dare to trust the Fire Phoenix King, the Fire Bat King, and the Fire Dragon King. Putting himself in their shoes, the temptation of a Dominator artifact was too great for them. The challenger used the Earth Dragon King's self-detonation as an opportunity to escape. Fire Phoenix King, should we chase after him? The Fire Bat King asked after seeing Night Sorrow escape. Forget it. After all, the challenger helped us defeat the Golden One King's faction. If we attack him now, we'll be too ungrateful. The Fire Phoenix King stared in the direction that Night Sorrow disappeared and said coldly, this king gave him a year's time. If he can't pass the test within a year, we'll take the Dominator artifact. If he can pass the test within a year, the opportunity left behind by the Ancestor Phoenix will be taken away. The Fire Bat King said unwillingly. Hearing this, the Fire Phoenix King shook her head and said, even if he was chosen by the Ancestor, he's someone with great luck. There's nothing wrong with obtaining an opportunity. Don't forget that you and I were once very mediocre in the God realm. We've already received a great favor from the Ancestor Phoenix. That's true. If we weren't guarding this place for the Ancestor Phoenix, we wouldn't have had the chance to break through to the King realm. The Fire Bat King nodded. He was also grateful when the Ancestor Phoenix was mentioned. While they were talking about this, Night Sorrow and the Dragon Sparrow King had already left. On the way to the challenge area, Night Sorrow looked at the Dragon Sparrow King and said, tell me the details of the challenge. I'm sure you've tried many times over the years, right? Indeed, it's just that no matter what everyone did, they all returned empty-handed. The Dragon Sparrow King nodded and said, until recently, a challenger confirmed before his death that he needed some special energy to pass the test. Thus, everyone concluded that he must have a Dominator artifact to pass the test. Special energy? Hearing the Dragon Sparrow King's words, Night Sorrow was certain. If he wanted to pass the test, the focus might not be on Tianyun Bao. He guessed that the test might use the power of virtue. That's right. An ordinary divine king wouldn't be able to pass the test at all. This is also the reason why everyone fought for the Dominator artifact when they found it. The Dragon Sparrow King continued to explain to Night Sorrow as they traveled. Originally, the Ancestor Phoenix's challenge was to enter an illusory realm. However, just as the Dragon Sparrow King talked about the illusory realm, he suddenly heard Night Sorrow's voice transmission. The Golden One King's aura, he's following us. But don't do anything strange, or he'll notice. After sending the voice transmission to the Dragon Sparrow King, Night Sorrow used both the Sea Serpent's Eye and Divine Sense to search for the Golden One King. During the search, Night Sorrow didn't make any big movements, as he didn't want to alert the enemy. Where is the Golden One King? The Dragon Sparrow King immediately transmitted his voice when he heard that the Golden One King was following them. Just now, his aura leaked out, and I sensed it. I think it has something to do with his injuries. Chapter 2774. I realize that although you are only a middle celestial lord, your strength, methods, and temperament are all outstanding. No wonder the Lord chose you to be the challenger. The Dragon Sparrow King praised from the bottom of his heart. If not for Night Sorrow, he would have been killed by the Earth Dragon King. Ancestor Phoenix has his own reasons for doing things. Night Sorrow knew that the Dragon Sparrow King had given him this opportunity because of the Eternal Supreme World. However, he would not say much about it. Let's not talk about this. The Golden One King is eyeing us covetously. Let me tell you about some of his techniques. The Dragon Sparrow King saw that Night Sorrow did not want to continue talking about Ancestor Phoenix, so he immediately changed the topic to the Golden One King. Finally, he said, of course, I really don't know about the doppelganger technique. This is the first time he has used it. Are you afraid? What do you want to say to ease your tension? The Dragon Sparrow King, who had not much to say, started talking non-stop when he heard that the Golden One King was nearby. Night Sorrow was speechless. Afraid? Indeed. After all, the Golden One King is the strongest among the 7 kings. I wonder what kind of strength he will unleash when he goes all out. The Dragon Sparrow King did not show any emotion on his face. However, when he transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow, he was already panicking. Based on my judgment, even if the 2 of us have Dominator divine weapons, we might not be his match. Therefore, we must take advantage of his hesitation to set up a formation. Use the power of the formation to deal with him. Night Sorrow said to the Dragon Sparrow King as he quietly set up the formation. Actually, we don't just have to guard against the Golden One King. The more dangerous one is the Fire Phoenix King. The Fire Phoenix King? Didn't she let us go after she won? The Dragon Sparrow King did not understand. She must know that the Golden One King will come to deal with us. Do you think she will let the Golden One King take away the Dominator divine weapon? Night Sorrow asked the Dragon Sparrow King. The Dragon Sparrow King, who was already afraid, became even more panicked. After thinking about it carefully, he felt that the Fire Phoenix King would not give the Golden One King any chance. In this situation, it was very likely that she had set up a trap to deal with the Golden One King. As for whether or not she was after the ruler artifact, it shouldn't be hard to determine. So for now, things may be very complicated. Night Sorrow said. Although he wasn't 100% sure of Fire Phoenix King's intentions, he felt that he had to consider every possibility. If the Fire Phoenix King had left him and the Dragon Sparrow King behind, not only would the Golden One King have reaped the benefits, but she would also have joined forces with Night Sorrow and the Dragon Sparrow King. If that happened, things would be difficult to handle. She was retreating in order to advance. No matter what, it would only be beneficial to her. Fire Phoenix King is really not simple. After listening to Night Sorrow's explanation, the Dragon Sparrow King felt that things were getting more and more complicated. He couldn't help but ask timidly, if things are really like this, what are our chances of winning? Just do your best. The array was ready. Let's go to the surface and find a cave to rest. Wait for the other party to take the bait. At this point, Night Sorrow had already finished setting up the array. At this time, there was still a certain distance between them and the stage. He couldn't leave the area covered by the array. All right. Let's see if the Golden One King will take the bait. Dragon Sparrow King felt that the Golden One King would be a complete idiot if she made a move against Night Sorrow, who had the help of a ruler artifact, who was fighting in his own formation, and who had the Fire Phoenix King eyeing them covetously. Take the bait? Based on the current situation, he has to take the bait. As for the outcome, it will depend on his choice. Night Sorrow said confidently. The Fire Phoenix King had a strong army while the Golden One King was alone. If the situation didn't change, the Golden One King's fate would be very miserable. All right. Then let's wait while we prepare some methods. The Dragon Sparrow King went into the cave. As he recovered his divine Yuan Qi, he began to create king-grade god talismans. For the Divine King, creating god talismans was usually given to a divine lord to use. The god talismans created by the Dragon Sparrow King were very special. They could be used to increase one's speed, especially one's escape speed. This was one of the main reasons why he could escape from the Golden One King's pursuit. After he was done, he handed 3 god talismans to Night Sorrow and said, if the situation doesn't look good, immediately activate the god talisman. It will increase your speed by 3 times. Increase my speed by 3 times? Your god talisman has such an effect? If you had told us earlier, we wouldn't have needed to set up the array. We could have just sped up and headed to the stage. Night Sorrow, who was also preparing, said regretfully when he heard the Dragon Sparrow King's words. I've already used up all the god talismans I had just now. If we were to create god talismans recklessly in the void, the Golden One King would definitely do something about it. The Dragon Sparrow King explained. That's true. However, with these 3 god talismans, we can definitely advance and retreat as we wish. Night Sorrow, who had kept the 3 god talismans, suddenly felt that their chances of winning had increased significantly. It's here. After that, Night Sorrow and the Dragon Sparrow King made some preparations and waited for 2 months. The Golden Wand King finally couldn't take it anymore. He entered the array and headed straight for the cave where the 2 of them were hiding. The moment he entered the array, Night Sorrow sensed it and informed the Dragon Sparrow King. When the Dragon Sparrow King heard that the Golden Wand King had arrived, he was a little afraid. However, when he saw how confident Night Sorrow was, he regained some confidence. "You were born a coward?" Night Sorrow asked with a smile when he saw the Dragon Sparrow King's reaction. "I was originally an ordinary sparrow. It was only because I was nurtured by my lord that I obtained the opportunity to become a king. Normally, if I don't fight to the death, I will unconsciously become cowardly. This is a fact that cannot be changed." The Dragon Sparrow King sighed. "I saw that your performance was not bad when you were fighting the Earth Dragon King," Night Sorrow said to the Dragon Sparrow King as he walked out of the cave. "That's because I was attracted by the Dominator Divine Weapon and lost my judgment." The Dragon Sparrow King shook his head and said, "Now that I think about it, how could I have the luck to obtain the Dominator Divine Weapon?" Just as the Dragon Sparrow King said this, the Golden Wand King arrived. The Golden Wand King snorted coldly and said, "At least you know your place." "It's true that I know my place. However, you don't have that kind of luck either. Can't you see it for yourself?" The Dragon Sparrow King laughed self-deprecatingly. He looked at the Golden Wand King and continued, "If you had come to snatch the Dominator Divine Weapon today, I'm afraid you would have died. Hee hee. This king's matters don't need a piece of trash like you to worry about." Chapter 2775. Golden Phoenix King, let me give you a word of advice. Ambition will make you lose your mind. If you continue to be stubborn, you will end up in a miserable state. Before Night Sorrow could speak, the Dragon Sparrow King mocked him. "I used to think that you were a maverick. I didn't expect you to have the potential to be a dog." The Golden Phoenix King rebuked the Dragon Sparrow King. He then looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Hand over the Dominator artifact and this king will guarantee that you can leave this pocket dimension safely. I don't need a deserter like you to protect me. I don't like people like you who don't care about their own people and run away alone." Night Sorrow looked at the Golden Phoenix King and snorted coldly. "Then, you 2 pieces of trash, are you going to fight?" The Golden Phoenix King's body emitted boundless battle intent. "If the 2 of us are trash, then you are a brainless fly without a head." The Dragon Sparrow King cursed. He then took out his Dominator artifact and attacked the Golden Phoenix King. Night Sorrow also held the Samsara halberd in his hand. He activated the 33 Skies secret battle technique and attacked with his forbidden spear. "Without the Fire Phoenix King, you are all ants." The Golden Phoenix King laughed coldly in the face of their attacks. He then used both his fists to attack Night Sorrow and the Dragon Sparrow King. He was indeed strong, especially after his original body merged with his doppelganger. His strength was even stronger than the Fire Phoenix King's. He was not at a disadvantage even though he was fighting 1 against 2. He defeated Night Sorrow and the Dragon Sparrow King. "You are indeed strong. However, you will definitely lose today." After exchanging 1 move, Yishang suddenly stopped and said, "You're right. Hee hee. Even now, you are still so confident. Are you ignorant or just ignorant?" The Golden Phoenix King laughed coldly. "I advise you to use your Dominator artifact. After using it, you will realize that in the face of absolute strength, external items are useless. Since you are so confident, why don't we make a bet?" Night Sorrow said. Inside the array formation that he had arranged, Night Sorrow was not afraid that the Fire Phoenix King would be able to see the situation inside. He had already used an illusory array to cover up the situation inside. The scene that was seen from the outside was completely based on the previous move, which had evolved into various illusions. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, the Golden Wand King smiled confidently. What kind of bet do you want to make? Could it be that he's going to give the sovereign artifact to this king? If the Dragon Sparrow King and I lose to you, my ruler artifact will be yours. Knight Sorrow stared at the Golden Wand King and said, if you lose, you will serve me from now on. He and Dragon Sparrow King didn't make any vows of allegiance. However, the Golden Wand King was extremely strong and had no bottom line. He was prepared to enslave her. If he could successfully subdue the Golden Wand King, then the Fire Phoenix King's forces would not be much of a threat. He would basically be in an invincible position and would be able to pass the trial without any worries. What a good plan. The Golden Wand King laughed coldly when he heard Knight Sorrow's words. He was strong and he wasn't stupid. He knew that Knight Sorrow must have something to rely on if he dared to propose such a bet. After a moment of silence, he opened his mouth and said, all right. No matter what tricks you have up your sleeves, they will all be useless in the face of absolute strength. I agree to the bet. However, I have a condition. If I win, the two of you will serve me. All right. I agree. Since that's the case, let's make a heavenly oath. Knight Sorrow felt that there was nothing to be afraid of. He took the lead and made a heavenly oath. Then he said, actually, you know that your only way out is to make this bet. I also know that this is also the way out for the two of you. The Golden Wand King snorted coldly and made a heavenly oath. He completely unleashed his killing intent and said, do it. Take this. The Dragon Sparrow King, who had also made a heavenly oath, used a divine talisman and attacked the Golden Wand King. He transmitted his voice to Knight Sorrow, I will use my speed to restrain him. You use your sovereign artifact. I don't see the need to use my sovereign artifact to deal with him here. Knight Sorrow, who had replied to the Dragon Sparrow King, immediately activated the formation after the battle began. After the formation was activated, the Golden Wand King immediately felt his strength decrease exponentially. Realizing that something was wrong, he said angrily, despicable. You have indeed prepared a trick. There is no such thing as despicable. The winner takes all. Everything is just a trick. Knight Sorrow took out Tianyun Bao and used his blood to activate Tianyun Bao. When Tianyun Bao buzzed, he immediately took out 5 heavenly cloud arrows and shot out the heavenly cloud 5 elemental arrows. He knew that he had to use all his strength to deal with the Golden Wand King, who was a top expert among the divine kings. Ant. Scram. The Golden Wand King, who was being harassed by the Dragon Sparrow King, already felt his strength being suppressed. The moment Knight Sorrow shot out the heavenly cloud 5 elemental arrows, he activated his bloodline and sent the Dragon Sparrow King flying. Then, he faced the 5 elemental arrows head-on. The Golden Wand King's bloodline was originally very weak, but he had been given a drop of ancestral phoenix true blood by the ancestor phoenix. Therefore, his bloodline was not simple, and he was stronger than the other kings. However, after his strength was suppressed, he was still sent flying by Tianyun Bao's strongest attack. Although he was strong, he was still sent flying. You are also an ant in front of strength. The Golden Wand King was sent flying just like him. The Dragon Sparrow King got up and attacked him again. If he lost, he would have to submit. Although he was not very brave, he knew the consequences. Forbidden Spear. Knight Sorrow, who had used Tianyun Bao to injure the Golden Wand King, took out his heavenly Samsara halberd and attacked his opponent. Just as the Golden Wand King was about to dodge, he used the Divine Origin Dragon Locking Formation to bind him temporarily. The heavenly Samsara halberd and the Dragon Sparrow King's attacks landed on the Golden Wand King. The Golden Wand King, who had been suppressed by Tianyun Bao, was weakened by half after being attacked. He looked like he was on the verge of death. That's not right. According to the Dragon Sparrow King, the Golden Wand King should have many tricks up his sleeve. When Yi Shang saw the Golden Wand King's reaction, a trace of doubt arose in his heart. The Golden Wand King was suppressed by the formation and could not use his full strength. Moreover, he had activated his bloodline and looked like he was exerting his full strength. However, he felt that the Golden Wand King, the strongest of the 7 kings, should have more power than this. Golden Wand King. Now, take a look and see which of us is the real ant. The Dragon Sparrow King, who did not sense anything wrong, continued to attack the Golden Wand King. Dragon Sparrow, you are just relying on the Challenger's Dominator divine weapon and formation. What is there to be proud of? The Golden Wand King looked at him with disdain. You don't need to know what I am relying on. This is the result of your ignorance. As the Dragon Sparrow King spoke, he attacked again. As expected, the Golden Wand King was sent flying again. He looked even weaker, as if he was hanging on by a thread. Chapter 2776. This was because the Golden Wand King was too calm in this situation. It was as if the one who was about to be killed wasn't him. Could this be one of his doppelgangers? Night Sorrow observed with his sea serpent's eye and realized that the Golden Wand King had merged with his doppelganger. This made him even more confused. Anyone who was severely injured would use their best skills. However, the Golden Wand King seemed to be on the verge of death. The Dragon Sparrow King was getting more and more excited. He used all sorts of techniques to attack the Golden Wand King. He shouted, "Do you admit defeat? If you continue to resist, you will lose your life." Hee hee. Do you think a mere sparrow like you can make this king admit defeat? What a joke. The Golden Wand King's aura was weak, but he did not lower his head in front of the Dragon Sparrow King. If you don't surrender, then you can die. The Dragon Sparrow King's eyes were bloodshot. Seeing that the Golden Wand King was in such a state, he attacked again. The Golden Wand King didn't come here to die. What's the problem? As the Dragon Sparrow King attacked, Night Sorrow, who had activated his sea serpent's eye, began to think of all sorts of possibilities. Boom! Just as Night Sorrow was thinking, the Dragon Sparrow King's attack landed on the Golden Wand King's body. After being struck, the Golden Wand King's aura began to drop rapidly. Not long after, he lost all signs of life. Dead? The Golden Wand King was killed by me so easily. I thought that he still had some tricks up his sleeve. The Dragon Sparrow King was stunned when he realized that the Golden Wand King had lost all signs of life. He seemed to be tough, but he never thought that he could kill the Golden Wand King. Seeing the Golden Wand King's corpse falling from the sky, the Dragon Sparrow King had the same doubts as Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow asked, "You said that the Golden Wand King had obtained the ancestral phoenix blood essence, right?" "Yes. That's why he's stronger than us," the Dragon Sparrow King explained. "Then I understand." Night Sorrow nodded and said, "He will definitely be reborn. And after that, he will be even stronger." He thought of Jing Yun's rebirth and knew that it was a phoenix bloodline ability. Right. How could I have forgotten about that? When Dragon Sparrow King heard Yi Shang's words, he was so frightened that his expression changed drastically. He had not been polite at all just now. Just as the two of them were talking, the lifeless corpse of the Golden Wand King suddenly burst into flames. Seeing the Golden Wand King's body burning, the Dragon Sparrow King's face was as white as paper. "It's over. We were right. Should we stop him from resurrecting himself? Of course we can't stop it. If the Golden Wand King were to die completely, then the Golden Wand King would definitely die. If the Golden Wand King, the Wand King that would Wand King S." Yi Shang said to Dragon Sparrow King. Then, he said telepathically, "Actually, it seemed like I attacked with all my might, but I still had a backup plan. But after his rebirth, his strength will definitely increase by a lot. Luo Kings, King Kings. There is nothing we can do about it. Even if he becomes stronger, we can't stop him." Yi Shang said as he took out some materials and started to set up a new spirit array within the array formation. He was setting up the stars shift formation that he learned from the heaven and earth formation. It wasn't like the heaven and earth great formations, which needed a lot of materials to activate. Soon, Night Sorrow finished setting it up. At the same time, the burning body of the Golden Wand King disappeared in the fire. After the body was gone, the sound of a phoenix resonated in the sky. The Dragon Sparrow King heard the sound of the phoenix, and he wanted to kneel down. He said in a shaking voice, "The phoenix. It seems he has become a phoenix." "It seems so." "Well, it is expected." Yi Shang recalled Jing Yun's change and felt that the Golden Wand King's change was understandable. "Ha ha ha ha. This king needs to thank you." After the rebirth, the Golden Wand King laughed and said, "I am not the Golden Wand King anymore. I am the Golden Phoenix King. Congratulations." Night Sorrow was in the sky. He congratulated the Golden Phoenix King and said, "Let's continue the bet." "Ha ha. This king has improved so much. He is almost as powerful as the Divine King. Do you still want to fight me?" Hearing Yi Shang's words, the Golden Wand King, who had evolved into a true phoenix, laughed madly again. The aura on his body was indeed very strong, much stronger than the Fire Phoenix King. Yi Shang looked at him and said, "I think that the two of us have a chance of defeating you. Take this then." In the sky, the Golden Phoenix King sensed her phoenix body and then turned into a human shape. He punched at Night Sorrow and the Dragon Sparrow King. It was exactly the same as when he first showed up. This time, Night Sorrow and the Dragon Sparrow King tried their best to fight back, but they were still blown away. Among them, the Dragon Sparrow King was almost killed by this attack. After he got up, he sighed and said, "The Golden Phoenix King is not something we can defeat. There's nothing that can't be resisted." Yi Shang, on the other hand, was extremely calm. He activated the two formations and shot the 5 elements arrow at the Golden Phoenix King again. "Again? This move doesn't pose much of a threat to me anymore." The Golden Phoenix King disdainfully looked at the 5 elements arrow. "Dominator's weapon is useless in your hands. Accept your failure. Let it be this king's." Then, it spat out a gust of white flames, intending to incinerate the 5 heaven cloud arrows. "You're oversimplifying things." Night Sorrow saw the Golden Phoenix King's reaction and smiled. He used the stars shifting formation to hide the 5 arrows in the void. He avoided the Golden Phoenix King's flame. He showed up behind the Golden Phoenix King. The Golden Phoenix King didn't expect Night Sorrow to do such a thing. The 5 elements arrow hit the Golden Phoenix King's back. "What the hell is this?" The Golden Phoenix King was hit by the 5 elements arrow again. His face turned dark. He discovered that even if his bloodline had evolved, he would still be severely injured by the 5 elemental arrows shot out by the sovereign artifact. "You don't need to know what this is. There are other things waiting for you." As Yi Shang spoke, he recalled the 5 heavenly cloud arrows and shot out the 5 element arrows again. This time, the Golden Phoenix King didn't spit out fire. He dodged the arrows. At the same time, he took out a feather from his body and slashed at Night Sorrow like a sword. You dodge or not, the result is the same. When the Golden Phoenix King's sword attack hit him, Yi Shang used the Big Dipper teleportation to move himself to the void. Chapter 2777. What the hell is this? The sky cloud arrow disappeared in the sky again. The Golden Phoenix King had become the Golden Phoenix King, but she couldn't do anything about it. She felt so upset. That is the power of the formation. It is called the stars shifting formation. Yi Shang saw the sky cloud arrow hit the Golden Phoenix King again, so he said something to Yi Shang. He didn't hide the stars shifting formation. Stars shifting formation? Humph. Let's see how this king breaks it. The Golden Phoenix King was hit by the 5 elements arrow again. He was severely injured, but the Golden Phoenix King had a strong recovery ability. After a while, he was fully recovered. Since he couldn't hit Night Sorrow, he started to attack the barrier of the formation. You are thinking too much. You can't do anything in the formation. Night Sorrow smiled. He started to control the Golden Phoenix King's attack with the power of the formation. The Golden Phoenix King kept attacking him. After a while, the Golden Phoenix King, who couldn't hit Night Sorrow or the barrier of the formation, started to attack him. He had never felt so humiliated before. The Golden Phoenix King had become a Golden Phoenix King, so he was in high spirits. However, he was in such a miserable state. This king. How could he? The Golden Phoenix King was annoyed. He didn't care about the formation at all. He thought he could defeat Night Sorrow with his own power. However, he ended up in such a miserable state. The Golden Phoenix King was so upset. Night Sorrow stopped attacking and said, "Just give up. Inside the formation, you are suppressed. You can't do anything to me. If we leave the formation, we won't be able to defeat you. But here, you can't. You won't win a fair fight. I won't give up even if I have to die." The Golden Phoenix King gritted his teeth. He didn't want to give up. You are useless to me. You don't want to give up. Since you don't want to admit defeat, then die. When Night Sorrow spoke up to this point, his tone changed from calm to cold, with endless killing intent. Humph. Kill this king? If you kill this king, can you defeat the Fire Phoenix King and the others? The Golden Phoenix King sounded confident. He felt that his existence was very important, and Night Sorrow would not kill him. You're too naive. If I can suppress you like this, I can also suppress them. Night Sorrow swallowed a few pills to recover his divine essence energy. He shot out the 5-element arrows again and used the Azure Rock soul-rending roar. This king, the 5 elements arrow shot out again, and the Golden Phoenix King was upset. Furthermore, the Azure Rock soul-splitting roar directly threatened his soul. Within the stellar transposition array, there was no way he could dodge such an attack. Haha. What is this, king? Why don't you admit defeat? Do you want to die? The Dragon Sparrow King didn't speak for a long time. After Night Sorrow suppressed the Golden Phoenix King, he sneered. He didn't like the Golden Phoenix King at all. Go away. You ant. You don't have the qualifications to lead the team. This king will point and criticize you. The Golden Phoenix King scolded the Dragon Sparrow King. He despised the Dragon Sparrow King. He didn't like the Dragon Sparrow King at all. The Dragon Sparrow King sneered and said, "This king is this king. Who is not a king? It's just that I know better than you. Do you think you can compare to him? Why are you struggling? It is none of your business whether I struggle or not." The Golden Phoenix King couldn't stop talking. Soon, he couldn't even talk anymore. Because of Night Sorrow's attacks, he became more and more agitated. The Dragon Sparrow King asked the Golden Phoenix King, but the Golden Phoenix King was too arrogant to admit defeat. The Dragon Sparrow King didn't think it was necessary to show mercy to the Golden Phoenix King. Ha, ha. This king is telling you something. There is only a winner who lives. There is no king who dies. Go to hell. The Dragon Sparrow King sneered and stopped trying to persuade the Golden Phoenix King. Just like Night Sorrow, he kept attacking the Golden Phoenix King. The Golden Phoenix King was injured by the Sky Cloud Arrow. After being attacked by the two of them, he couldn't hold on any longer. At this moment, the Golden Phoenix King finally felt scared. He realized that neither Night Sorrow nor the Dragon Sparrow King took him seriously. They didn't want to show mercy to him at all. What should I do? Is this king going to be my servant? No. No way. The Golden Phoenix King knew he was going to die, but he didn't want to give in. Your story ends here. When the Golden Phoenix King couldn't fight back anymore, Night Sorrow took out 5 more arrows and prepared to kill him. Don't do it. This king can swear that I will serve you in this small world. I will protect you. The Golden Phoenix King realized that if Night Sorrow made a move, he would be killed. At the last moment, he started to beg for mercy. Humph. If you knew this would happen, why did you do it in the first place? The Dragon Sparrow King disdainfully scolded the Golden Phoenix King. Yi Shang didn't care about the Golden Phoenix King's begging. When he shot out the Sky Cloud 5 Elements arrow, he said, "That's not what we agreed on. You have no right to bargain with me. I give up. I give up. I will serve you from now on. If I break my promise, I will die." After Night Sorrow shot out the Sky Cloud 5 Elements arrow, the Golden Phoenix King couldn't hold it anymore. He kneeled in the sky and begged for mercy. He had just obtained the Golden Phoenix bloodline. Before he could use it, he was going to be killed. That was a different feeling. That was hopeless. The Golden Phoenix King chose to surrender. Can you use the formation to divert the attack? The Dragon Sparrow King looked at Night Sorrow and talked to him through mind connection. You don't have that many chances. Night Sorrow didn't want to hold back at all. He controlled the Sky Cloud 5 Elements arrow to kill the Golden Phoenix King. Night Sorrow didn't think it was necessary to keep the Golden Phoenix King alive. The Golden Phoenix King might betray him at any time. Even though the Golden Phoenix King was bound by the oath, it was meaningless to keep such a man around. How can we defeat the Fire Phoenix King if we kill him? The Dragon Sparrow King was confused when he saw Night Sorrow kill the Golden Phoenix King. If the Fire Phoenix King tries to kill us, he will rush into the formation. We will deal with the Fire Phoenix King the same way we dealt with the Golden Phoenix King. Yi Shang said. After he killed the Golden Phoenix King, he used the illusion array to show the battle between him, the Dragon Sparrow King, and the Golden Phoenix King. The Dragon Sparrow King and the Dragon Sparrow King barely won the battle. Seeing such a scene, if the Fire Phoenix King and her subordinates entered the spirit design, it proved that they were interested in the Heaven Cloud Bow. Chapter 2778. If they enter the formation, they won't be able to defeat us. The Dragon Bird King calmed down a bit after hearing Night Sorrow's words. The Golden Phoenix King was so powerful, yet she couldn't fight back in the formation. The Fire Phoenix King and the others shouldn't be able to either. The Dragon Bird King thought for a while and asked, what if they don't enter the formation? What should we do? If they want the Dominator's divine weapon, they will definitely enter the formation. Night Sorrow said. The formation showed the Fire Phoenix King and the others the best way to get the Dominator's divine weapon. As long as they wanted the Dominator's divine weapon, they would do it. Good. Let's wait then. The Dragon Bird King calmed down after hearing Night Sorrow's words. He realized that he had made the right choice by standing on Night Sorrow's side. Here they come. The Dragon Bird King had just said something, and Night Sorrow sensed that some people had entered the formation. 3 of them, the Fire Phoenix King, the Fire Bat King, and the Fire Serpent King. As expected. Everybody is greedy. The Dragon Bird King stood in the sky and looked at where Night Sorrow pointed. He released his spiritual soul power and sensed the Fire Phoenix King and the others as well. Ha ha ha. Dragon Bird King, it seems you are not seriously injured. The Fire Bat King sensed the Dragon Bird King's chi, so he disdainfully shouted. It caused a huge tremor in the formation. Some of the mountain rocks were shattered by the roar. Fire Bat King, what are you doing? Night Sorrow didn't say anything, but he looked at the Dragon Bird King. The Dragon Bird King knew what he meant, so he scolded the Fire Bat King. Ha ha ha. We are here to get the Dominator's divine weapon. The Fire Bat King laughed. Get the Dominator's divine weapon? You are shameless. The Dragon Bird King heard the Fire Bat King and mocked him. Hearing Dragon Sparrow King's ridicule, Fire Bat King laughed and said, Don't talk nonsense with me. You too, just give us the Dominator's divine weapon. We know you are already at the end of your rope. You don't have the power to fight back. After the Fire Bat King spoke, the Fire Dragon King and Fire Phoenix King didn't say anything, but they had already used their actions to prove their stance. The Fire Wyrm King had already chased after the Dragon Sparrow King. The Fire Phoenix King, on the other hand, had locked onto Night Sorrow. Clearly, she wanted to take Tian Yun Bao for herself. I remember you said that you would give me a year's time. Can't wait any longer? Night Sorrow, who was standing quietly in the air, said when he saw the Fire Phoenix Empire flying towards him. His voice wasn't loud, but everyone in the formation could hear him clearly. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Fire Phoenix King's face revealed a trace of a smile. There is a saying that all is fair in war. The sovereign artifact is the key to this king's ability to leave this small world and obtain the ancestral phoenix's fortune. How could he give it up so easily? Aren't you curious why I'm not injured at all? Yi Shang asked with a calm expression. He was calm. The Fire Phoenix King, who was as confident as the Golden Phoenix King, was a bit surprised. She didn't think that Night Sorrow could turn the situation around. She thought for a while and coldly said, "It doesn't matter whether you are injured or not. The Golden Phoenix King is dead. In this small world, nobody can stop this king. If the invincible Golden Phoenix King died, why do you think you are invincible?" Night Sorrow thought that the Fire Phoenix King and the Golden Phoenix King were the same kind of people. They were proud from the bottom of their hearts. They didn't care about him at all. He had the sovereign artifact, but he was ignored. The Golden Wand King is alone, but I have 3 deity kings. How are you and the Dragon Sparrow King going to stop them? After saying that, the Fire Phoenix King turned into a phoenix from her human form. He spat out a mouthful of extremely hot flames at Yi Shang. When the Fire Phoenix King attacked, the Fire Flood Dragon King attacked the Dragon Sparrow King too. The Fire Bat King was a free man. He was going to help whoever was in a passive position. From their point of view, the 3 of them would be able to crush Night Sorrow and Dragon Sparrow King completely with their lineup. There was no doubt that they would win. They didn't think about why the Golden Phoenix King was killed. Besides, Night Sorrow and the Dragon Sparrow King weren't injured at all. They were arrogant. We don't need to defend against your attacks. You are the ones who need to defend yourselves. Facing the Fire Phoenix King's attack, Night Sorrow didn't move at all. He directly used the Star Transposition Array and used the flame spat out by the Fire Phoenix King to attack the Fire Wyrm King. The Fire Flood Dragon King was attacking the Dragon Sparrow King, but he was stunned by the fire that came out of nowhere. He looked at the Fire Phoenix King with confusion. "Fire Phoenix King, what is going on? Why are you attacking me? This king didn't attack you. There is a formation here. He can use the formation to divert this king's attacks." The Fire Phoenix King replied to the Fire Flood Dragon King. She already knew how Night Sorrow killed the Golden Phoenix King. If he could divert her attacks without limit, this battle would be really troublesome. "I see. What should we do?" The Fire Flood Dragon King asked in a panic when he heard that Night Sorrow had such an ability. He had never heard of such an ability before. He didn't know how to deal with it. "I think we can try to use a Divine Soul attack," the Fire Phoenix King said. She didn't hesitate and immediately used a Divine Soul attack on Night Sorrow. She said to the Fire Bat King, "Find a way to break the formation. If this goes on, we might follow in the Golden Phoenix King's footsteps." Only then did the Fire Phoenix King realize that things weren't that simple. Fire attacks don't work, but Divine Soul attacks work. In the face of the Fire Phoenix King's Divine Soul attack, Night Sorrow directly diverted it to the Fire Bat King, who was looking for a flaw in the formation. The Fire Bat King, who had been flying in the air, was hit hard by the Fire Phoenix King's soul attack and fell down. "Fire Phoenix King. We can't continue fighting like this. The challenger is an invincible existence in this formation." The Fire Bat King, whose divine soul was shaken, said to the Fire Phoenix King. There was no doubt that if they continued fighting like this, they would all be killed like the Golden Phoenix King. This king also didn't expect that he could set up such a formation that has never been heard of before. The Fire Phoenix King also felt a great deal of pressure. Although she was the strongest among them, what was the use? Night Sorrow didn't give her any room to play. At this moment, the Fire Flood Dragon King suddenly said to the Fire Phoenix King, "Let's attack together. Maybe he doesn't have the ability to control all of our attacks." Yes. You're right. Chapter 2779. Looking at Night Sorrow and Dragon Sparrow King, Fire Phoenix King, who had been reminded by the Fire Drake King, transmitted her voice to the Fire Drake King and Fire Bat King. "I'll feign an attack later. Both of you attack at the same time and try to kill Dragon Sparrow King instantly." At this point, Fire Phoenix King paused for a moment and said, "When the two of you attack, pay attention to all your methods. Try to make him panic. Okay. I'll use my divine weapons and talismans." Fire Bat King, who had received the message, replied and prepared to attack. Fire Drake King also transmitted his voice. "Don't worry." "Very good." Fire Phoenix King received the reply and immediately slashed at Night Sorrow with her Phoenix Feather Sword. She felt that Night Sorrow would not be able to move the sword away from her. At the same time, Fire Bat King and Fire Drake King attacked Dragon Sparrow King one after another. Not only did the two of them use their strongest divine weapons, but they also used their divine talismans. For a moment, the attacks in the formation were chaotic, making it difficult for people to look at them. You guys are really simple-minded. If it was so easy to break, would it still be called a formation? Seeing the three of them, Night Sorrow smiled and directly transferred himself and Dragon Sparrow King into the void. All three of their attacks missed. "You can do that?" Fire Drake King, who had suggested to Fire Phoenix King, was speechless after his attack missed. It seemed that Night Sorrow was a godlike existence in this formation. There was no way to defeat him. Fire Phoenix King and Fire Bat King were also speechless. The situation in front of them made them feel a little desperate. Hee hee. Aren't you guys very arrogant? Why are you like Golden One King, unable to resist at all? Dragon Sparrow King, who had been transferred to the void by Night Sorrow, mocked Fire Phoenix King and the others. Dragon Sparrow King, this is not your ability. What are you being arrogant for? Fire Bat King retorted unhappily when he heard Dragon Sparrow King's mockery. He felt that Dragon Sparrow King was a villain who was intoxicated by success. Dragon Sparrow King smiled and said, "Isn't having good eyesight and making the right choice a kind of ability?" Dragon Sparrow King. "Do you still have any divine talismans?" Meanwhile, Night Sorrow sent a voice transmission to the Dragon Sparrow King. "Divine talisman? What talisman?" Dragon Sparrow King asked doubtfully. At this moment, he was completely convinced by Night Sorrow. Under such circumstances, he was completely unable to react to Yi Shang's question. Speed increasing talisman. At the same time, Night Sorrow explained, the surrounding heaven and earth yuan qi has been depleted. The star shifting formation can no longer be used. What? What was going on? There are still 2 divine talismans left. Do we need to escape now? After receiving this news, the Dragon Sparrow King was immediately dumbfounded. He had just mocked the Phoenix King. If the Phoenix King took the initiative, he would die miserably. Originally, the surrounding yuan qi was very abundant, enough to support the revolving star passage formation for dozens of years. But just now, all the energy of heaven and earth in the vicinity disappeared. Night Sorrow explained. As for why this happened, he really couldn't figure it out. Then do we need to escape? Dragon Sparrow King was speechless. What's there to do? Immediately, we need to escape to the location of the challenge. Night Sorrow said and continued, give me all the speed increasing talismans and enter my spatial artifact. Otherwise, it won't be safe when we reach the challenge. After all, two people are not allowed to enter the challenge at the same time. All right. I'll give you the talisman. Dragon Sparrow King handed the talisman to Night Sorrow without hesitation. At the same time, he entered the Haotian pagoda in the void. After receiving the talisman, Night Sorrow looked at the Phoenix King and the others. After sizing them up, he said, "I'll give you all a chance. If you don't want to die here, then swear an oath to the heavens and follow me." This was the last attempt he was prepared to make. If the Phoenix King and the others were fooled and swore an oath to the heavens, then he wouldn't have to run at all. "You want me, the Phoenix King, to follow you, a divine lord?" Hearing Night Sorrow, the Phoenix King looked disdainful. "If I, the Phoenix King, am such a humble person, I wouldn't be here today. It seems you are just like the Golden Phoenix King, the Golden Phoenix King. You won't give up until you see the coffin." Night Sorrow coldly said and took out the Tianyun bow. He didn't hesitate to shoot out the 5 elements arrows. "No. He can divert our attacks. He must be able to do the same with the Dominator's divine weapon. Activate your strongest defense now." 5 sky cloud arrows were shot out. The Phoenix King immediately talked to the Fire Bat King and the Fire Serpent King, telling them to be prepared. They didn't want to be killed by the Dominator's divine weapon. "I wonder who the Dominator's divine weapon is going to attack." When the sky cloud arrows were flying, the Fire Serpent King murmured. He was the weakest among the 3 kings. If Night Sorrow's 5 elements arrows hit him, he wouldn't be able to defend himself. The Fire Bat King was a bit nervous. He didn't want to be hit by the 5 elements arrows. "The more you defend yourselves, the easier it will be for me to leave." Yi Shang held back his laughter when he saw their reactions. He immediately used the divine talisman and dragon roaming heaven steps to fly in the direction of the trial. At the same time, the 5 sky cloud arrows were called back. "No. He is just pretending. He is running away. The formation should be useless now." The Phoenix King was the first to react. She immediately chased after Yi Shao. The Fire Bat King and the Fire Serpent King felt lucky, but they also chased after Yi Shao. "Intruder! You can't escape!" The Fire Phoenix King shouted coldly as she chased after Yi Shang. She felt like she was being toyed with by Yi Shang, and she felt very depressed. "You are the one who can't escape. I will leave this small world soon." After using the heavenly talisman made by the Dragon Sparrow King, Night Sorrow was extremely fast. When he used the dragon steps, the 3 kings couldn't even catch up with him. At this moment, the Phoenix King said, "We have to catch up to him. Otherwise, we will lose the chance to leave this small world." She could tell that Night Sorrow had a high chance of passing the challenge because he had too many tricks up his sleeve. After shouting this, the Phoenix King ignited her bloodline and instantly increased her speed by more than 2 times. This time, the Phoenix King left the Fire Bat King and the Fire Serpent King far behind. She was getting closer and closer to Night Sorrow. This king said that you can't escape. Based on the distance between the 2 of them, it was certain that they would catch up to Yi Sorrow if they continued to move at their current speed. The Phoenix King's eyes were filled with viciousness. "Hee. Let's not talk about whether you can catch up to me. Even if you catch up alone, so what?" Chapter 2780. According to Night Sorrow's judgment, the Fire Phoenix King should be much weaker than the Golden Wan King. Since the Golden Wan King, who had evolved into a Golden Phoenix, had been fatally injured by Tianyun Bao's attack, the Fire Phoenix King definitely wouldn't be able to withstand it. If he and the Dragon Sparrow King attacked together, the Fire Phoenix King might not be able to gain the upper hand. However, if they chose to attack now, they might not be able to take down the Fire Phoenix King in a short period of time. This way, the Fire Bat King and the Fire Wyrm King would arrive. As Night Sorrow used the dragon roaming sky steps, he added some spatial attributes to increase his speed. "Let's see how fast you can increase your speed." Seeing Night Sorrow increase his speed, the Fire Phoenix King, whose face had already turned sinister, increased the speed of her bloodline consumption. She wanted to increase her speed so that she could close the distance between her and Night Sorrow. I can increase my speed to a point where you won't be able to catch up. The Fire Phoenix King increased the speed at which her bloodline burned, closing the distance between the two of them. Night Sorrow, who had used his consciousness to scan the area, realized that if he didn't increase his speed, he would soon catch up. He also began to burn his own blood to increase his speed. This way, the speed of the two of them had basically reached their limits. There was almost a millimeter difference between the two of them, forming a stalemate. As for the Fire Bat King and the Fire Wyrm King, the distance between them was already quite far. Are you alright? Can you hold on by burning your own blood like this? The Dragon Sparrow King asked worriedly when he saw that Night Sorrow was actually competing with the Fire Phoenix King's bloodline power and wasn't at a disadvantage in terms of speed. I'm fine. At this speed, how long will it take for us to reach the trial? Night Sorrow asked. After all, the Dragon Sparrow King had told him about the trial, so he could only make a rough estimate. When the Dragon Sparrow King heard this, he silently calculated and said, if we maintain this speed, it will take another 2 hours. At this rate, I should be able to hold on until we reach the trial. Night Sorrow was well aware of his own foundation. After thinking for a moment, he continued to ask, can we enter the trial directly when we reach the trial? Yes. I've mentioned this before. The Dragon Sparrow King replied. He did mention this matter to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow explained, I'm just making sure. If we can enter directly, we can just start the trial when we arrive at the trial grounds. There is no need to fight the Fire Phoenix King. Yes. There is indeed no need. The Dragon Sparrow King transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow from within the clear sky pagoda. After thinking for a moment, he said, that's right. Spatial artifacts could not be used during the trial. Once we're inside, I can only transmit my voice to you. I can't be summoned to fight. If you have any important divine artifacts or pills, don't put them in your spatial artifact. All right. I understand. Night Sorrow replied and turned to look at Fire Phoenix King, who had already transformed into a phoenix. At this moment, her entire body was bathed in flames, causing the clouds in the sky to turn red. Still unable to catch up to Night Sorrow, the Fire Phoenix King was so angry that she spat out a wave of scorching flames, directly melting a green mountain below. Haha. Fire Phoenix King is already unable to restrain her anger. Seeing Fire Phoenix King's performance, the Dragon Sparrow King in the clear sky pagoda could not help but laugh. Cao Ling, who had just recovered from her cultivation state, was a little afraid. That phoenix behind is so fierce. Ling, don't be afraid. She can't catch up to us. The Night Sorrow who comforted Cao Ling, actually still had the ability to continue accelerating. But that would require him to use the limitless body forging art. The gains did not make up for the losses. Challenger, you'd best never let this king catch up to you. The Fire Phoenix King who raised her speed to the limit was still unable to catch up to Night Sorrow. Her mentality collapsed. After chasing for another hour, her consumption was too great. She could not hold on and slowed down. However, she still flew in the direction of the challenge area. In reality, the Fire Phoenix King at this time was already in despair. She was clear that she could not catch up to Night Sorrow at all. During the flight, she was somewhat listless. After shaking off the Fire Phoenix King, the Dragon Sparrow King smiled even more brightly and said, "What is your name?" "My name is Night Sorrow." The Night Sorrow who had slowed down a little replied. The Dragon Sparrow King continued, "If you bring me out of here, I will fight for you for a reincarnation cycle, Master Night Sorrow." "How about it? A reincarnation cycle?" After hearing the Dragon Sparrow King's words, Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said, "Okay. A reincarnation cycle. In this reincarnation cycle, you have to do things according to my style of doing things." "Okay. Whatever Master Night Sorrow wants me to do, I, Dragon Sparrow King, will do. The Dragon Sparrow King nodded. After that, Night Sorrow did not say anything else. About 2 hours later, he flew to the challenge area mentioned by the Dragon Sparrow King. The giant stone array is the entrance to the challenge area? Night Sorrow, who was floating in the void, looked around and found that other than the continuous green mountains, there was only a giant stone array at the foot of the mountain. Yes. Entering the giant stone array will directly enter the small world of the challenge. The Dragon Sparrow King explained and continued, at that time, I entered to help the camp of the Divine Realm to fight against the invaders. In the end, I failed to protect the city wall. I don't know what kind of challenge you will encounter. It's probably related to the Eternal Supreme World. Night Sorrow, who was secretly thinking, thought in his heart but did not say it out loud. He directly descended and walked into the giant stone array. However, after Night Sorrow walked into the giant stone array, he did not walk into any small world at all. He still stayed in place. What's going on? Does the giant stone array need something to activate? Standing in the giant stone array, Night Sorrow observed for a while with the sea serpent's eye and found that there were indeed array patterns on the giant stone array, but for some reason, it could not be activated. That's impossible. Any one of us can directly activate the giant stone array and enter the small world. The Dragon Sparrow King said speechlessly. At this time, he walked out of the Hautian Pagoda and observed the giant stone array. He suddenly shouted, "Not good. If we can't enter, the Fire Phoenix King will be here in a while. The distance between us isn't that far. Do you want to set up a concealment array?" There's no need for a concealment array. The Fire Phoenix King burned so much of her bloodline power, she should be very weak and won't be our match. As long as we can defeat the Fire Bat King and the Fire Dragon King before they arrive, it will be fine. The key now is how to activate the giant stone array. This is the key to our departure. Night Sorrow, who was still observing the giant stone array, was very confident about the two of them joining forces to defeat the Fire Phoenix King. What made him feel depressed was that the giant stone array in front of him could not be activated at all. Chapter 2781. Since Lord Night Sorrow is confident in dealing with the Fire Phoenix King, then I'm relieved. Through some of the things that had happened in the small world, Dragon Sparrow King had developed a strong confidence in Night Sorrow. Dragon Sparrow King, who did not want Night Sorrow to think that his information was wrong, thought for a moment and said, "Lord Night Sorrow, I think that the reason why you can't activate the array and enter the small world is because Lord Phoenix deliberately set it up. It's very likely that you need to meet some kind of requirement before you can enter the small world." And that makes sense. While waiting for the Fire Phoenix King, Night Sorrow thought for a moment and felt that it made sense. Since Lord Phoenix had set up 7 kings in this world, he must have his reasons. The 7 kings should be the key to passing the stage. Currently, the Earth Dragon King and the Golden Wand King had been killed one after another. The Golden Python King had also died in battle. The Dragon Sparrow King had already submitted to him. Only the Fire Phoenix King, the Fire Bat King, and the Fire Dragon King were left. It seems that Ancestor Phoenix's intention is to let me successfully conquer the 7 kings. Then the following battle is unavoidable. After analyzing it, Night Sorrow felt that this was very likely the case. Looking at the surrounding environment, he found that it was not suitable to set up the stellar transposition array, so he quickly set up an array that could suppress cultivation. Because of the lack of time, this array was not as effective as the one against the Golden Wand King. However, it was better than nothing. Night Sorrow was very satisfied with this. It's coming. Prepare for battle. Just as the array was set up, less than 10 breaths of time, Night Sorrow used his soul power to sense the aura of the Fire Phoenix King. He knew that she was nearby. Because the Fire Phoenix King was in despair, her speed had decreased a lot. She felt that her only hope was that Night Sorrow could not pass the test. However, when she arrived near the giant stone array, she immediately detected Night Sorrow's aura. Looking around, the Fire Phoenix King saw that Night Sorrow was standing near the giant stone array and did not enter. She immediately said coldly, "What? You're not going in, are you deliberately trying to anger this king?" She guessed that Yi Shang was purposely waiting for her so that she could personally witness the scene of her entering the small world. "I don't have that kind of hobby. I'm staying here because I want to fight you." Night Sorrow's body emitted a strong fighting spirit. "Haha. If you want to fight this king, then why did you run away?" When Fire Phoenix King said this, she still didn't release her own divine domain. She didn't want to alert the enemy and scare Night Sorrow away. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said, "The reason why I ran away was because I didn't want you guys to have the chance to fight 3 against 2. Now that you're the only one left, I'm ready to fight." "Haha. You didn't want to fight 3 against 2, so you decided to fight 2 against 1. What a good plan. However, this king is not stupid. He will not enter your formation and fight 1 against 2. Fire Phoenix King transformed into her human form and stood in the air. She was a woman with a fiery aura, but her features were extremely cold. "You don't have a choice. If you don't come and fight, we'll immediately enter the trial grounds." Fire Phoenix King had been on guard the entire time. Dragon Sparrow King threatened. "Let's fight. I, Fire Phoenix King, am not afraid of you." This method was very shameless, but it was exactly what Fire Phoenix King wanted. She felt that even if she had to risk her life, she couldn't miss the opportunity in front of her. If she chose to stay in her own territory and never come out, then even the ruler couldn't do anything to her because she could resurrect infinitely in the lava pool. However, that world was too small, and Fire Phoenix King was simply not satisfied. She wanted to leave her own territory and leave the small world that bound her. Hearing Dragon Sparrow King's words, her mind was immediately stimulated. Her body bloomed with an astonishing brilliance, and she turned into a stream of light, directly blasting towards Night Sorrow and Dragon Sparrow King's position. "Come at me." Dragon Sparrow King's words were exactly what Fire Phoenix King wanted. Night Sorrow shouted, took out the heavenly Samsara halberd, and shot out the forbidden spear. He chose to fight head-on because he wanted to test Fire Phoenix King's strength before opening the formation. When Night Sorrow's forbidden spear collided with the Fire Phoenix King, the Dragon Sparrow King's choice was to escape. He felt that he wouldn't be able to withstand this attack, so he flew backwards. Boom! After a loud explosion, Fire Phoenix King changed from the appearance of a phoenix back to her human form and floated in the air. Yi Shang, on the other hand, was sent flying. In the face of absolute power, he, a middle-level divine lord, was still a little weaker. However, the strength of Night Sorrow's body was extremely terrifying. Even after suffering such a serious attack, he didn't suffer any serious injuries. Amazing. However, I advise you to use your ultimate skill as soon as possible. Night Sorrow, who had suffered some injuries, slowly stood up. He admired Fire Phoenix King, who had consumed so much of her bloodline, for her to still be able to unleash such an attack. At the same time, he activated the formation that restricted his cultivation. "You really set up a formation. However, it has no effect on this king." After Night Sorrow activated the formation, Fire Phoenix King immediately revealed a playful smile. She took out a blood-colored cloak from her spatial artifact. After the cloak was on her body, Fire Phoenix King, who had been weakened by the formation, immediately recovered. "The formation is ineffective. You are not a match for the 2 of us." After confirming that the formation was ineffective against Fire Phoenix King, Night Sorrow wasn't too depressed. He quickly adjusted his state of mind. He, who had originally planned to continue using the Samsara halberd to fight for a while, immediately took out Tianyun Bao and poured his blood into it. Very quickly, Tianyun Bao was completely activated. After being activated, Tianyun Bao let out a loud buzzing sound, causing the surrounding heaven and earth to tremble. Why is it different from usual? When he used Tianyun Bao's Night Sorrow, he discovered that it was a little strange and immediately checked it. He discovered that Tianyun Bao had suffered quite a bit of damage. It seems that I must repair Tianyun Bao's injuries as soon as possible. After today's battle, I can't use it for the time being. Noticing Tianyun Bao's injuries, Night Sorrow immediately decided that after the battle with Fire Phoenix King, he wouldn't use Tianyun Bao for a short period of time. However, in front of him, he was fighting against Fire Phoenix King. Without hesitation, he shot out the 5 elements arrow. Furthermore, he used the Divine Origin Dragon Locking Formation to temporarily bind Fire Phoenix King. The attack of a sovereign artifact. This king will receive it. After being temporarily bound, Fire Phoenix King reacted. She couldn't dodge the 5 elements arrow that was flying towards her. At this time, she simply pulled out her phoenix feather sword to take it head-on. The 5 elements arrow was shot out by the sovereign artifact Tianyun Bao. However, in reality, Tianyun Bao wasn't completely pulled apart. Furthermore, the material of the heavenly cloud arrow was basically Divine King's level. It was just that it had been strengthened by the sovereign stone. It was about the same strength as Fire Phoenix King's phoenix feather sword. However, when she took the 5 elements arrow head-on, she was still sent flying in a sorry state. After receiving this attack, Fire Phoenix King felt as if her entire body had been fractured. Chapter 2782. Fire Phoenix King's words revealed absolute confidence. She knew that at the Monarch God realm, using a ruler artifact would consume a lot of energy. Night Sorrow couldn't use this level of attack more than a few times. As a member of the Phoenix race, her recovery ability was extremely strong. Although this level of injury had a large impact, she could completely recover in battle. However, Fire Phoenix King had overlooked one thing, and that was that she had underestimated Dragon Sparrow King and had not taken him into consideration at all. Although Dragon Sparrow King was the weakest among the 7 kings, he still had his own methods. Fire Phoenix King had just received a blow from Tianyun Bao and responded to Night Sorrow. Dragon Sparrow King took out a black jar from his spatial artifact and threw it at Fire Phoenix King. After the black jar was thrown out, it immediately sprayed a large amount of black blood at Fire Phoenix King's position. What is this? Fire Phoenix King, who could not dodge in time, discovered that the black jar was very strange. She could not dodge the black blood at all and immediately questioned Dragon Sparrow King. Hearing this, Dragon Sparrow King smiled and said, "You should be able to tell from the smell that this is the blood of the dark magic dragon. Any king-level artifact that is stained with this blood will temporarily lose its effect. Your cloak can no longer be used." As expected. After Dragon Sparrow King explained, Fire Phoenix King discovered that the blood-colored cloak on her body, after being stained by the black blood, no longer had any effect. The array immediately weakened her strength by a lot. After being weakened by the array, Fire Phoenix King was immediately annoyed. She felt that she should not be so careless in a life and death battle. Lord Night Sorrow, continue to attack. Don't give her a chance to recover. She is a member of the Phoenix race and her recovery ability is very strong. Dragon Sparrow King, who had broken Fire Phoenix King's cloak, sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. At the same time, he took out a spear made of Dragon Sparrow feathers and stabbed at Fire Phoenix King. This move did not seem to be profound, but Fire Phoenix King immediately felt that her life was in danger. What's going on? How can Dragon Sparrow King be so strong? Facing such a powerful Dragon Sparrow King, Fire Phoenix King was stunned. Not to mention Night Sorrow, who possessed a ruler artifact, but even the Dragon Sparrow King was so powerful. This made her feel extremely worried. If nothing unexpected happened, she would definitely lose today's battle. You are too arrogant. You are the same as the Golden One King. You don't even put us in your eyes. But as a king, who doesn't have some special skills? Today, we will defeat you. Dragon Sparrow King, who was mocking Fire Phoenix King, immediately poured a large amount of blood essence into the spear when it was about to pierce Fire Phoenix King. Activated by the Dragon Sparrow blood essence, a huge 5-clawed heavenly dragon flew out of the spear and attacked the Fire Phoenix King together with the spear. Earlier, when he fought the Golden Wand King, he did not use his trump card no matter how dangerous the situation was. Now that he was fighting with his back against the wall, he was going all out. You are forcing this king to go all out. Facing the 5-clawed sky dragon summoned by the Dragon Sparrow King, the Fire Phoenix King put away the contempt she once had for the Dragon Sparrow King. She activated the Phoenix Feather Sword and summoned the Phoenix Weapon Spirit. The summoned Phoenix immediately pounced at the 5-clawed heavenly dragon and began fighting. In an instant, the sky turned dark. At the same time, the Fire Phoenix King used the Phoenix Feather Sword to block the attack of the spear. Her strength had been weakened and she was injured. She used all her strength to barely block the attack of the Dragon Sparrow King who was at his peak. You blocked his attack. What about mine? Knight Sorrow knew that he had to cut the Gordian knot and defeat the Fire Phoenix King before the Fire Bat King and the Fire Dragon King arrived. He did not hold back either. After the Dragon Sparrow King's attack, he immediately used the Green Rock's soul-rending roar on the Fire Phoenix King to attack her soul. The Fire Phoenix King, who had just blocked the attacks of the Dragon Sparrow King and the Fire Phoenix King, did not react in time. Her soul was directly injured and she became much weaker. The Fire Phoenix King was a little flustered after being attacked continuously. She was injured again and felt a little sad and angry. However, before she could recover, the Dragon Sparrow King's next close combat attack had already arrived. He controlled the spear and attacked fiercely. As a result, the Fire Phoenix King did not even have time to finish her sentence. She once again held the Phoenix Feather Sword and fought with him. At this time, Knight Sorrow summoned 5 sky cloud arrows and shot them at the Fire Phoenix King again. The Fire Phoenix King, who was fighting with the Dragon Sparrow King, did not have the time to care about anything else. The 5 element arrows ruthlessly bombarded her body. She is about to die. Let's continue to attack together. The Dragon Sparrow King immediately shouted when he saw that the Fire Phoenix King was severely injured by the 5 element arrows. I know. However, although she is now an arrow at the end of its flight, if she is killed, it is very likely that she will be reborn. Knight Sorrow transmitted his voice to the Dragon Sparrow King and continued, therefore, we have to capture her directly. Instead of killing her. Indeed. If she is like the Golden Wand King, she will be reborn after death and her strength will increase further. For us, it will be a big problem. Lord Knight Sorrow, you've really thought it through. The Dragon Sparrow King praised. At the same time, he shouted, Fire Phoenix King, you are definitely no match for us. Now, Lord Knight Sorrow will give you a chance. As long as you make a heavenly oath and choose to submit, Lord Knight Sorrow will take you with him and leave the small world. What's the difference between submitting to him and being trapped in the small world? It's just a change of area and being enslaved. The Fire Phoenix King replied without hesitation after hearing the Dragon Sparrow King's words. The Fire Phoenix King's words made Knight Sorrow feel that the 7 kings were really pitiful. When the Dragon Sparrow King heard the Fire Phoenix King's words, his attitude was different. He said disdainfully, Fire Phoenix King. You mean that you have been enslaved by Lord Ancestor Phoenix? Don't forget that you were just an ordinary bird in the forest. If not for Lord Ancestor's care, how could you have the chance to awaken your spiritual intelligence? Maybe you would have died long ago. How could you have become the Divine King? You are completely ungrateful to think that way. Everyone's choice at every point in time is definitely different. The Fire Phoenix King did not refute the Dragon Sparrow King's words. However, she still insisted on her own thoughts. At this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air came from afar. The figure of the Fire Bat King appeared on the horizon. Sensing the aura of the Fire Bat King, the Fire Phoenix King immediately transmitted her voice, Come and save me. The Challenger and the Dragon Sparrow King have joined forces. Their strength is above this king. Yes, Lord. With me here, they won't be able to cause any trouble. The tone of the Fire Phoenix King's voice was very urgent. After the Fire Bat King received it, he immediately flew towards the location where the three of them were fighting. Seeing the Fire Bat King rushing over, the Dragon Sparrow King, who originally thought that he had the situation under control, suddenly became nervous. In fact, the reason why he was able to erupt with such combat strength was because he was burning his own blood essence. He wanted to quickly finish off the Fire Phoenix King. He did not expect that before the Fire Phoenix King was controlled, the Fire Bat King had already appeared. Chapter 2783. Thinking that the Fire Wyrm King might arrive soon, the Dragon Sparrow King immediately sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. Lord Night Sorrow, the situation is not good. What should we do? It was obvious that he was in a state of panic. Don't panic. Let's kill the Fire Phoenix King first. Even if she can revive, it will take time. This amount of time should be enough for us. Night Sorrow, who had thought of all sorts of possibilities, felt that at this moment, he could not back down at all. Without thinking too much, he shot another 5 elements arrow at the Fire Phoenix King. He felt that if he killed the Fire Phoenix King and she did not revive, it would be good. If she could revive, it would take time. As long as he and the Dragon Sparrow King worked together to kill the Fire Bat King, they would at least be able to solve half of the problem. If they were lucky, they could kill the Fire Wyrm King before the Fire Phoenix King revived. Then, their chances of winning would increase by a lot. Are you saying that we should use the Fire Bat King's eagerness to save people and kill the Fire Phoenix King while she is undergoing nirvana? Good idea. Night Sorrow's idea was something that the Dragon Sparrow King had never thought of, or rather, he did not have the courage to think of it on his own. However, after hearing half a sentence, he immediately understood and said, "Then let's kill the Fire Phoenix King with all our might." While sending a voice transmission to Night Sorrow, the Dragon Sparrow King once again thrust his spear at the Fire Phoenix King. Night Sorrow did not immediately attack the Fire Phoenix King. Instead, he destroyed the Phoenix Artifact Spirit of the Phoenix Feather Sword. After the Phoenix Artifact Spirit was destroyed, the Artifact Spirit of the Dragon Sparrow King's spear immediately returned to its original body and erupted when it attacked the Fire Phoenix King. At the same time, when Night Sorrow destroyed the Phoenix Artifact Spirit of the Phoenix Feather Sword, the originally injured Fire Phoenix King could not help but spit out a large mouthful of blood. Obviously, the destruction of the Phoenix Feather Sword's artifact spirit had affected her as well. As a result, the Fire Phoenix King, who originally did not have much resistance, was completely unable to hold on and was pierced through the chest by the Dragon Sparrow King's spear. After the Dantian was shattered, the Fire Phoenix King's divine sea was also broken by the Dragon Sparrow King. My lord. The Fire Bat King, who had just broken into the array formation, happened to see the scene of the Fire Phoenix King being killed. He immediately charged toward the Dragon Sparrow King like a madman. In fact, he and the Fire Wyrm King did not have that many feelings for the Fire Phoenix King. However, the two of them had once sworn that if the Fire Phoenix King died, they would follow her. Otherwise, they would be punished by the heavenly Tao. What are you talking about? He was already dead. There's only one Lord here, and he's there. The Dragon Sparrow King, who had expended a lot of energy, didn't dare to fight the Fire Bat King head-on. When the Fire Bat King rushed over, he let go of the Fire Phoenix King's corpse and pointed at Night Sorrow. "My lord. How are you?" The Fire Bat King, who had snatched the Fire Phoenix King's corpse, shouted loudly. However, the Fire Phoenix King did not make any sound at all. "Both of you must die." The death of the Fire Phoenix King was equivalent to him being killed. The Fire Bat King immediately exploded with anger. However, what responded to him was Night Sorrow's elemental arrow. Just now, the Dragon Sparrow King had used all his strength to kill the Fire Phoenix King. Night Sorrow did not make much of a move. At this time, he had already recovered to his peak state. Divine Origin Dragon Lock Array. Seeing that the elemental arrow was about to reach the Fire Bat King's side, Night Sorrow immediately used the Dragon Lock Array. This was an array that he had learned a long time ago. Although the effect was not bad when used with his current cultivation, it seemed a little crude. It could only delay the powerful Divine King for a moment. However, for Night Sorrow and the elemental arrow, this moment was especially precious. The 5 sky cloud arrows all bombarded the Fire Bat King's Divine King and broke his protective divine domain. One of the sky cloud arrows even directly pierced through his chest. If the Fire Bat King had not been alert and dodged, his dantian might have been directly shattered by this. What powerful strength! No wonder Milord was defeated. The Fire Bat King's strength was much weaker than the Fire Phoenix King's. Otherwise, his body would not have been directly pierced through by the sky cloud arrow. After being pierced through, the Fire Bat King felt relieved because he was not directly killed. After the Fire Bat King calmed down, he seized the opportunity to swallow a pellet to restore his body. Then, he released his god domain again to sense the Dragon Sparrow King's condition. He laughed and said, "So, you're already an arrow at the end of its flight. You are still a lamb waiting to be slaughtered." The Dragon Sparrow King, who had consumed a lot of energy, had almost lost his ability to fight, but he did not stop talking. Normally, he would not dare to be so arrogant with the Fire Bat King, but now that they had fallen out, he had nothing to worry about. A lamb waiting to be slaughtered? You used this word very well. The Fire Bat King, who was sizing up the Dragon Sparrow King, smiled and said, "Next, I'll let you know what a lamb waiting to be slaughtered is. Fire Wyrm King, I will delay the challenger. You go and kill the Dragon Sparrow King." What? The Fire Wyrm King has also arrived? Hearing that the Fire Wyrm King had also arrived, the Dragon Sparrow King immediately panicked. He immediately sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. "Lord Night Sorrow, I no longer have the ability to fight. Quickly put me into the spatial artifact." Where is he? The Dragon Sparrow King sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow, but found that Night Sorrow was no longer in the array. His voice transmission also did not return. Why can't he come together? He is in this king's spatial artifact. Of course he will come together. At this time, the Fire Bat King said with a face full of regret. "It's all because the Fire Phoenix King chased us too quickly and didn't put us into the spatial artifact. Otherwise, you wouldn't have had a chance. Fire Bat King, I will go and kill the Dragon Sparrow King. You pay attention to the challenger. It feels a little strange that he suddenly disappeared. Also, the Lord seems to be recovering." The Fire Wyrm King, who came out of the Fire Bat King's spatial artifact, did not sense the existence of Night Sorrow, but found that the Fire Phoenix King's corpse had begun to burn. This was the sign of a phoenix's nirvana. As expected. The Lord still has a chance of being resurrected. As long as she is resurrected, we don't have to die. The Fire Bat King, who had also noticed the changes in the Fire Phoenix King's body, immediately became alert. He had originally thought that the Fire Phoenix King, who had left his territory, did not have the ability to be resurrected. Now, this was a complete surprise. However, the Fire Bat King was also wondering where Night Sorrow had gone. After all, Night Sorrow had just shot the Heavenly Cloud 5 Elements arrow at him. He released the power of his soul to investigate but did not find any aura of Night Sorrow. He frowned and said, "Forget it. Let's kill the Dragon Sparrow King first. Lord Night Sorrow, save me." The Fire Bat King and the Fire Wyrm King attacked him together. The Dragon Sparrow King immediately panicked and shouted loudly. Even if he was at his peak, he would not be a match for the two of them, let alone now that he had consumed a lot of energy. However, Night Sorrow still did not appear, nor did he reply with a voice transmission, you're tuning in to the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.